So welcome, guys, to the event. Appreciate you guys all for coming. And no, you're good. You're good. For everyone online, we got a sweet group of people here, all the Windsorites and locals. Actually, one from Sarnia as well, I think, right? Chatham, sorry. I always think that area. But we got Mira from Cleveland as well, Manny from Toronto. But appreciate you guys coming to this Manifest Times All Things REI event here in Windsor. We're looking forward to talking and learning about Cleveland and U.S. investing in general. And appreciate you for coming out. And
thank you so much for setting everything up. Tom is a mastermind. Look at the setup. He set that up in 20 minutes. I wouldn't be able to do that, man. Like that's amazing. Thanks for having us here in Windsor.
Love it.
You know what? 3-hour drive. It was a smooth drive. It's like driving to Cleveland from him. Smooth drive.
Nice and flat.
Yeah, nice and flat. I don't know where I am. I don't know where I am. Tomorrow when I I don't know the prices of anything. Like I'm a realtor in Hamilton. It's nice to meet all of you guys. So we're going to start our presentation. I want to talk a little bit about Manifest and how we got started. And we'll go forth and we'll be talking about Ohio, Cleveland. That's where we're investing. And focal point of today is in Cleveland. So whenever you guys want to get started, we can get started.
Yeah, I think now's the time to get started. I'll go back and I'll man the slides for you. And you can take it away. Just keep the mic out here.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Should I put it on my?
Oh, yeah, if you want to put it in your set.
Yeah, okay. So whenever you guys are ready, just let me know. So a little bit about myself, guys. My name is Manny Haydari. I've been a realtor for over a decade now. I know time flies. Last year, kicked the crap out of me. I'm sure it kicked the crap out of some people too. I've done a lot of flipping in Hamilton. I've done a lot of conversions, duplex conversions, triplex conversions. I've seen the laws change a lot. I've seen so many changes with the building code and so many things that are getting more restrictive and difficult. I am a family man, have 2 kids. I get no sleep. Anybody that knows I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. So they all sleep in the family bed. So I get kicked every night. Kicked out. Maybe I sleep in my son's bed, race car. So yeah, I've been. I won a few awards. I have a team in Hamilton, and we actually focus on investment real estate. I also have a construction company, so flipping works hand in hand. We're slowing down on the flipping in Canada because there's just so many things being imposed on us right now, and waiting for permits is so difficult. It's just, I don't know how it is here, but in Hamilton, it's like pulling teeth. It's like we have the most building permits pulled in all of Canada, in Hamilton. It's like $1 billion or something, dollars worth of it. And like you put a permit in and you're waiting 3 months just for them to like say yay or nay or send you back, and then you gotta wait another 2 weeks. It's really tough. I don't know, has anybody dealt with that out here? Yeah? Yeah. How long does it take out here? 1.5 years. Oh, yeah. If you're building from scratch. Oh. So some cities are good, like the smaller municipalities, but the bigger ones, they're like, I've done projects in Brantford, great. Hamilton, it's whereabouts? So yeah. it's tight. And you know what? The hard part is like we have a shortage of property. Like we have a housing problem. So at one point, the government is like, we need more housing. But then the smaller governments are holding us. They're blocking us from getting these housing built. So it's kind of like, what do you guys want? Are you guys confused? Why don't you guys hash it out and figure it out? Because like all we're doing is making affordable housing, right? Duplexes, triplex. That's what I specialize in. Duplex conversions, triplex conversions. They used to be like A, B, C, A, B, C. But now it's like, wait, now you need this, 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 and this. Now you need more this, 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 and this. I'm like, why are you guys adding toppings to the pizza when the pizza's all right? It's good. You don't need to, you know? So that's what led me to thinking about other places. Actually, a client, I'll tell you the quick story. A client of mine, I was part of Wealth Genius, actually. And they're like, well, join Wealth Genius. And I'm like, oh, like, do I need to? I'm not a newbie. I thought it was a newbie thing, right? I joined Wealth Genius, and they're great, actually. You learn a lot from them. And they had a program in Cleveland, Ohio, Boots on the Ground, where they're teaching you investing in Cleveland. And she's like, you got to come. I'm like, do I really need to come? And I was worried because I was like, Cleveland, I've always seen things on the news. I'm like, Cleveland's dangerous. Like, why would I be going to Cleveland, right? No offense, Miro, but we Canadians were like, you know, Cleveland, do I need a bulletproof vest? Like, you know, like it's dangerous. So I didn't drive the first time I flew down there. It was a big mistake. Like the time back, we had a layover for 6 hours. I was like, I could have drove back. So I went there and I was pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly surprised. So it opened my mind to know. Opened my mind to know that like there's other areas that you can invest in. But I was predominantly investing in Canada. I was kind of like all of you guys, right? And I have a construction company, and the holdups is just, and there's nothing you can do. You're at the mercy of the city, and you're just handcuffed. And you know, if you're doing a project for a client, as we do, we keep updating them, but there's no updates. So they think it's us. And they're like, no, it's not us. Call the city. They put on hold for another hour or whatever. It's just a tough situation. When I went to Cleveland and I seen how it's developing, it reminded me of Hamilton. I'm from Hamilton. And 10 years ago, 15 years ago in Hamilton, when I was telling people I invest in Hamilton, they were laughing at me. Hamilton? And they give me this face, huh? The smoke factory? Because they'd go through the bridge and they see like all the steel industry. But it's jumped up in pricing from like, I remember houses were 100,000 to average price like 800,000 now. And those people that are laughing at me are coming to visit our falls, our waterfalls, and taking selfies and videos. And I'm messaging them like, how'd you like the waterfalls? Where is it? Is it in Toronto? No, it's in Hamilton, right? So these are the kind of things that I seen in Hamilton, and then when I seen the same kind of stuff in Cleveland, they have the steel companies, they are big in the arts. Hospital scene is massive. Cleveland Clinic in Ohio is massive. So these are the kind of things that I seen happening there in Cleveland. So it brings me to Manifest. My name is Manny. So Manifest, they kind of work too. And everything that I've done in my business, I've manifested it into existence, right? Everybody has the thought, but the action part of it is lacking. It's like, I want to do this, but maybe I'll fail. I want to do this, but I talk to my friends and family, and they're like, don't do it. Like, when I first started in real estate, I was so excited. I went to my dad, I want to buy this property. My dad's like, don't do it. That's the first thing that your parents say. Don't do it, you'll get hurt. They're trying to protect you, but they don't know like what's gonna happen, right? Like they have that mindset of like, oh, well, my parents did. Like, save your money, you know, get a good job, you know, like all of this like stuff. Go to school, and I was a good student, but I didn't like school. You know, like why do we have to sit at this desk for 8 hours? It's nice and sunny outside. You know what I mean? Like, let's go on a field trip. Let's watch a video. So teach his own, but for me, it was like I had to be my own like motivation. I had to manifest something, and I had to put it into action. If you go to the next slide. I had to put it into action. And without putting anything into action, taking the right steps, like how do you even know if you're going to succeed? Gretzky said, you don't score. 99% of the shots you don't take, you don't score. And I'm a big hockey guy, massive hockey guy. And he was my favorite player growing up, Wayne Gretzky. And he scored the most goals. He's still number one. Like, how many shots did he take till he scored, right? Like, that's how investing is, and that's how life is, guys, right? So if we don't take any shots, how do we know? And the best experience is real life experience. It doesn't matter. You come to me with all the books, your PhD, all that stuff, and I have people that I mentor. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. What have you done? What have you invested in? How much turmoil have you seen? How much of the city have you seen? How much of the inspectors have you seen? How many inspectors have you schmoozed? You know what I mean? There's a lot of that happens in this business. Oh, do you want a coffee? Yeah. Do you want a donut? Like, everything's good? Yeah. Oh, you're supposed to do this? Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot about it. You know, like, there's so many things that you have to go through when you start investing, right? And that's the taking action part of it. So when I created Manifest, we have a bigger team in Toronto and Hamilton. Unfortunately, a lot of people couldn't make it. It's a little bit of a distance, but we put a team together that helps people invest. So I put it all together from A to Z. We have a construction company, we have lenders, we have everything all in one place. So people don't have to look for, oh my God, I got to find a lender. Oh my God, I got to find a construction company. I kind of created the for us, by us, for Canadians, by Canadians. Because I went to Cleveland and I seen the downfalls. The downfalls is construction. The downfalls is property management. The downfalls, I'm sorry, Miro, is bad realtors, horrible realtors. You call them, they call you 3 days later. Hello? I'm like, are you alive? That property sold like 3 days ago. I've never seen, I'm sorry, I never seen that in my life. I'm a realtor, but like 3 days later, oh yeah, sorry, I was busy. I'm like, for 3 days? Like, you could have shot me a text, you know? I think it's because they're not making so much money on the transaction. And it's like 2-3% on 100,000 or 70,000. It's not a big deal compared to the realtors here and the price points here, right? But I seen the downfalls and I'm like, how could we make this better? How can we connect our teams? And I got connected with Miro. He's a realtor out there. And, you know, we hit it off and we're working together and we built something out there. We built a construction team out there. So I don't want to sub things out to people I don't know. I've been burned. I don't know. Show of hands, how many people have been burned by contractors? Like, I'm going to tell you a quick story about what I've dealt with contractors. Oh my God. I'm in the house they're renovating. I'm like, hey, John, where are you? I'm at your house renovating. I'm like, really? I'm in my house. Your tools are here. You haven't even opened them. Oh, I went to get a coffee. I'm like, I'll wait for you. No, come back later. And this happened numerous times. Lying, taking my project, taking my deposit, putting their tools there, doing a little bit of work, asking for more money, over budget. I've dealt with all of this. I'm like, I'm building my own. It took 10 years to do that, to find the right people. The hardest thing to do is vet contractors. I think it's the hardest. Would you agree, Miro?
Yeah, social media is critical nowadays because if you screw someone over, you can find it eventually, but still,
It's very difficult. And no offense, but American contractors, they're even harder to deal with. The horror stories that I heard about taking the Canadians' money and just gone overnight. I went to buildings, empty, 14-unit buildings. What's going on here? They took the investors' money, took off. $200,000-$300,000 deposit, took off. So you got to be careful. So I wanted to kind of incorporate all that in what we're building. And, you know, that was the taking action on the manifest that we built all that. And today we want to talk about Cleveland and talk about what the good stuff is about investing in Cleveland. So there's a lot of goodies in Cleveland. There's a lot of bad things too. There's pros and cons, right? Um, in any market, but I think the pros are very heavy in the US because you could get unlimited mortgages. You don't have to, oh my God, my credit limit, like they have a thing called DSCR loans. I don't know if we're going to be touching on that. Okay, so, okay, that's awesome. Section 8, which would, like, it blew my mind. I'm like, what? So you're going to tell me where the city is telling me where they're paying me the most amount of rent? They give me the zip code. They're giving me the zip code on the city website, and they're like, go look for a house here, and we'll pay you the most amount of rent. I'm like, imagine that in Canada, guys. Like it's in Canada on the Realtor website, you don't have any of those things. So
Yes, we'll try this one.
no problem.
Yeah, no problem. That's okay.
So I'm super excited to go over Cleveland with you guys. It blew my mind. At first, I was scared to go there. Now I'm just driving there casually, schmoozing with the locals. And I'm telling you, the gentrification that's happening, in 6 months, I've seen things turn so quickly, and prices are rising. Now, US, depending on the market, it's not a appreciation, massive market, but it is a massive cash flow market. It's a massive cash flow market. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland in particular is built for buying homes.
Yeah. So I'm going to pass it to Miro, our realtor. Come up here. Miro is our realtor that we work with and is part of my team, the Manifest team in Cleveland. Me and Miro met in Wealth Genius program, right?
Yeah, about 6 months ago, and
Yeah, 6 months
things
ago.
have changed in 6 months, but
Yeah, and I've been a pain in his butt since.
a little bit tough.
Well, realtors are different out there, right? It's a different market. Believe it or not, yeah. It's it's really lenient. Honestly, like I closed the deal, like we're in the middle of closing a deal. I'm like, okay, so when I said to send a deposit, nobody tells me anything. You have 4 days. They give you an extra 5 days if you need 5 days. Like, it's not like, yeah,
It's a little bit more nonchalant.
it's just
I
a
don't know how
different,
people move in the States when you gotta be out of your house and in the new one, and they just extend the closing.
yeah,
I
like,
just don't
You
get
have,
it.
yeah, you have all kinds of situations that come up with that as
Yeah.
well.
yeah.
It's crazy.
So I want to introduce Miro. I'm going to slaughter your last name. How do you say your last name?
Gurgurvik.
Gregorovic.
In Croatian, it's a lot tougher, but that's the easiest way I can say it. There's no vowel, so it's unpronounceable in English, but
Awesome. I'll let him take over and tell you guys a little bit about Cleveland. Thank you so much.
All right. Can you hear me back there, Tom? Yes. Do you hear me perfectly? All right. So it's good? So we're going to be going over Cleveland market. We're going to be going over the areas in Cleveland. We're going to be going over Section 8. We're going to even go over the map, some specific areas I like, and just covering a little bit of everything. So let's hit the first slide here. So one of the key things to know about Cleveland is it's a very important hub, distribution center in the Midwest, industrial area, very heavily medical as well, very similar to Hamilton. The population size has actually been stagnant to slowly decreasing, really over decades. And that's ironically one of the biggest strengths of Cleveland in terms of why it's interesting for buy and holds, stagnant population growths. But it's also kind of, strength and weakness to it because it's not really for capital appreciation. That's changing now. Population is really starting to move back. Ironically, politically, there's been a lot more conservative people that have moved into the state the past 8 years. So now you'll never see it as a toss-up on the news. Florida either, they've moved kind of more conservative. So one thing to know about Cleveland itself, the city, is it tends to be the only real liberal area surrounded by just conservatives in red in every direction in the state. So in terms of being beneficial for landlords, land contracts, lease contracts, and all those things, it's more Republican, more conservative, which generically tends to be a little bit more pro-business and pro-landlord. Let's go to the next one. So why now? Obviously, with what's occurring in Canada, I work with so many Canadian investors now, it's almost like a gripe session. They're so frustrated about so many things, not just in the country itself politically, the taxes, the permit, how everything is so expensive. They don't know how to really invest here, especially when it comes for cash flowing. So you look at Cleveland, things just cash flow so much easier. It's just a more conducive environment in general. The purchase prices in Cleveland, I bought a duplex for $110,000 or $120,000. I bought a triplex for $110,000. The ARVs were ridiculous, like $330,000. The cash flows for a 3-unit, you can make about $1,500, 4-unit about $1,700. But the point is, you're basically getting a free house once you do the cash out refi. So there's a lot of value in Cleveland. It's not just that the prices are low, but if you buy right, the value of the property and the comparables in the area, it's very strong, and it's still a great place to invest. And interest rates, ironically, have not, for the buy and hold market specifically, hasn't really affected anything. If you're flipping, yes, end buyers, it's become a little bit tougher to get a loan. But for what I'm looking for, I should say, buy and holds, it really hasn't affected anything. But it's a very strong cash flow market. I always say for buy and holds, it's like a white leopard. There's 1,000 of them in the wild, then 100, then 10, then 5. Because as the purchase prices go up, guess what they stop being? Cash flow markets. Because your cash on cash, cap rate, whatever you look at, it becomes less competitive because the rents never go up typically as fast as the purchase prices. Let's go to the next one. So affordability, the Midwest has something going on. The states like Michigan, Ohio, kind of Indiana, these kind of Rust Belt states, they really lost a lot of population around the 50s and the 60s when Japan had steel prices which were extremely competitive. It completely cratered an entire industry, and Ohio never really fully recovered. And a lot of the Rust Belt states, these are the states right here that were in the news constantly, right? Michigan, you then had the other state of Wisconsin, all these Rust Belt states which are the working class vote. This area right here, you have very good prices. So if you look at here, you look at the median home price for Ohio, $145,700. This makes it very exciting for buy and hold specifically. For flips, you can really do it in a lot of different markets as long as there's a lot of spread, but buy and holds, Cleveland in particular, that Midwest area is really where it's at. And then looking here in Canada, looking at the affordability, I really don't even have to tell you all about this. I mean, you already know the numbers, you kind of live the numbers. I had a Canadian investor, one of the first ones that ever came down. He went to this house that was in Lee Miles, and I told him the price of the house was $50,000. He said, oh, $500,000. I was like, no, it's $50,000. And he just stopped. He just had a moment where he just looked at me. And I was like, yeah, no, that's the price of that house here. This is a typical buy and hold area of Lee Miles, but this is what he's used to, right? He would see a house. I remember Manny took me to Hamilton, and he's like, Miro, you see this house? This is a typical house you would have in Slavic Village. This is our equivalent. Guess how much this house is? I was like, $40,000. He's like, no, it's $500,000. I was like, what? Right by the steel plant. I was like, $500,000? He's like, yes. I'm like, I can't believe it. But you guys already know this, so let's just go on to the next slide. But this is to give kind of a comparison of really what it looks like in terms of pricing. And then landlord-friendly legislation. Obviously, you've seen politically what's happened recently. The Democrats lost extremely badly in a country that's that divided. Ohio has, the senator got in. You're looking at the executive branch, legislative branch, now judicial, it's going to be packed with conservatives. So any major changes in Ohio that are going to be detrimental, something like rent control, is unlikely to be happening for the at least next 2 years. with what's occurred. But in terms of Ohio, what's very interesting is that in terms of evictions, it's very fast. I mean, Manny's a realtor, he also is an investor, so he's very knowledgeable about these things. But in Cleveland, when I was telling him, and you can put a 3-day notice. If someone is breaking lease terms, you slap a 3-day notice, you have dogs in the house, you have a pool, and you said you weren't allowed to have a pool. According to the lease terms, you slap a 3-day lease. That's a notice, and they have to cure it or they're gone. You also, if they're not paying rent, you can put a 30-day notice on their house. In 30 days, they have to go through the process, and it's about 30 to 45 days that it takes to ultimately get a tenant out of the house. So it's very friendly for landlords in terms of evictions comparatively to even other areas. I mean, you go to California, it's an absolute horror show. You go to Canada, obviously I've heard a lot of the stories. I don't know much about Canada, but here in Cleveland, Ohio, it's just very strong for people, again, making it conducive for buy and holds.
In Canada, you have to wait 2 weeks before even giving the notice if they stop paying.
Wow.
You can give the notice, but you can't file for eviction for another 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, once you're used, it's just because once I hear about the things going on here, I'm just like, I don't really even understand. But yeah, I mean, look at this. Looking at the vast size, I mean, Canada's actually huge. I mean, it looks like it's just equivalent size to Canada, but the US in terms of population is very significant. When you're looking at a place like Ohio, you're just finally starting to see some of that population go back. I mean, when I was a kid, all my friends went to Chicago, New York, Texas. They went down to Florida. They went down to Miami. Cleveland, I only really stayed because of real estate and the opportunity I had here. But in terms of population, you're actually starting to see population growth come back to the area. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at the population just in California alone, I mean, just really puts into perspective the opportunity that you have in the US. So why Ohio? I mean, it's really a lot of things. First off, the price points. When you have the purchase price and rents so close to each other, when you can do evictions very fast, and then when it comes to the population again is moving in the right direction. So when it comes to my slides, and I'm going to get to that, we're going to be showing really what's been happening decade after decade after decade of stagnation and how that's slowly turning around. Like Manny said, he comes every 6 months and then he sees suddenly there's changes. Suddenly Cleveland built out this whole area in the flats. So the capital is starting to come in. Some of those precursors that you see of the money going into the city, you're starting to see that. So market trends, I mean, the hottest housing market, we're going to go over why that's Cleveland, but you have other markets here. I mean, look at number 2 and 3 here. So you have Cincinnati and Columbus. Cincinnati and Columbus, you have places like Ohio State University. I mean, Ohio State University alone is just a mill for student housing. Big investments are happening. A lot of big universities in those areas. And Cincinnati and Columbus, they're growing. I mean, they're facing capital appreciation growth all around like Cleveland has not. Cleveland is kind of like the one that's been struggling. They can't figure things out. But Cleveland, Columbus, the prices are going up there significantly. You also have rents that are also very strong there. But Cleveland is more a play for buy and holds. And for that reason, it's getting a lot of attention now. So key market trends, this is very interesting because this is so dependent on the area you're in. Like areas like Garfield Heights, where you have just almost exclusively foreign investors investing there, you're looking at increases like 30, 40% in some areas. As soon as it comes on the market, investors absolutely fight over it. They're driving up the prices, and the next person who does a flip, guess what happens? Look at that number. Oh, that's 142. That's a new comp. That's the comp. An appraiser appraises it, guess what? Now you have 140s as the new number, and that's happening very aggressively now. A lot of external money from Israel, Canada, Europe, everywhere is coming into Cleveland right now. So looking here, highest rent increase, we're going to go over Section A in Eden. you have what's really the cash rent, which is you just go to a tenant and you're like, hello, my friend, here's a lease, here you go in. And then you have Section 8 Eden, which are more kind of government programs. Section 8 really is a federal program, and then you have a public housing authority that's like the local admin, that basically they go by and they're the boots on the ground and they tell you, these are the rents for these areas. And if you look at the chart that HUD releases, HUD is basically the federal government that basically does the payments and dictates how much rent will be. You have the zip codes on one side and you have the bedroom count up here. So when you align and meet the numbers, it tells you everything about what Section 8 and Eden look for. They look for where it is, the zip code, and they look for the bedroom count. Higher the bedroom count, the more rent you get. Better the area, high rent you get. So top employers, Manny touched on this already. Cleveland Clinic is its own city. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I remember it was a building, just downtown Cleveland. Cleveland Clinic is just endless. It's just buildings after buildings after buildings after buildings. When someone tells you if you don't pay taxes, it doesn't make any difference, they're proof that a nonprofit, if they can just reinvest all their money and keep building things out, I mean, they are now in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. They're in the Middle East. They're expanding. They're expanding throughout the US. I mean, they just started in Cleveland, but they just absolutely are one of the biggest people there. And then you have Walmart. You have other companies that are coming in, American Express. A lot of big businesses are now going in Cleveland and around Cleveland. New stadium.
Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah, Sherwin-Williams, yeah.
Downtown headquarters of Sherwin-Williams is downtown.
And I think a new Brown Stadium? Or was it the Cleveland Indians Stadium they're talking about in Brooklyn, Ohio?
Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns, yeah. So a lot of investment, a lot of money, a lot of businesses. When the businesses start coming, because they look from a real estate perspective as well. So if they have big buildings coming in as well, that's telling you something. Oh, this is you, my friend.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna swap real quickly.
yeah, swap real quickly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miro. Sure. So, I just wanted to show you a little bit of the projects that we've done. Some befores and afters. Everybody likes to see befores and afters.
Is this in the States or Canada?
Canada. I'm working on one right now, a guinea pig, we call it in the States.
Learning curve.
Guinea pig. And I call them guinea pigs because from the first one, you get everything out of them. But the way I'm going to be doing them there is the same way I'm doing them here. I'm not going to put lipstick on a pig. That's what they do there. Sorry.
A lot of people do.
They, like I'm going to high end it and go for the high end rent and get the ARV that we're looking for. And it's going to be new to them. It happened to my city, the Torontonians. Huh?
Don't increase the comps in the neighborhood.
Hey, I'm there for gentrification. I'm there to make money. I remember the good old days where you could burr out and make some money. Remember those days, guys? So I'll show you a few of the projects that we've done, if you like. We did extremely well in Hamilton. Hamilton's an old city. We did very well. So this is one of the projects that I flipped. Linwood, this is what it looked like beforehand. It's just really dated. You want to click on the next picture? That's what it looked like afterwards. The profit margins in Hamilton were very good, especially on the upswing market in the 21, 22. So, sorry? They'll be back. They're just, they're in a healthy break right now. It's the rates. It's the rates. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I'm stuck with flips that I've done, and I can't sell them because people can't afford them. Not because they're not beautiful homes. People just can't afford them. At 7-8% rates, it's, they went from 1 to 8.
So what are you doing? You're renting them?
Yes. So I always make my properties at least minimum 2 units, legal, just so they could cover themselves. Exit strategies. I always have exit strategies. I never take single family home and I just keep it a single family, unless it's a small single family and I'm flipping it, like a $400,000 or $500,000 one that you could quickly flip. Otherwise, I like the exit strategy of renting it out because you never know. Markets change, things happen, right?
So this one we flipped. We made a healthy margin on this one of about 150,000 in 6 months. If you want to go to the next one. This one was my favorite one. West Third. It was by Mohawk College. Anybody knows Mohawk College? It's a bigger college in Hamilton. I bought this first day on the market. It was nasty. It was cockroach infested. It was horrible. The agent was, I looked for a few indicators. Weak agent, weak listing, weak pictures, and I attack. So I got this at below asking, and he knows. I got this below asking at 650, and we duplexed it. We made it, and it was 2021, right after the pandemic. Like everything was going back to normal, kind of thing, right? And this is what it looked like afterwards. I bought it for 650. We put 150 into it. We sold it for 965. Nice. So it was a good day.
How long did it take?
4 months. That's not bad. Like at that time, everything was moving. Like the city was back open. Nobody was working from home again. It was good, right? The working from home killed me when the city started working from home. Because it was like, oh, I left the file in the office. That's what they say to me. I remember one of the plans examiners said, like, I left the file in the office. I'm like, it's okay. I looked up her address. I could drive it to your house on 123 Crescent. She's like, how do you know? I'm like, I'm a realtor. The next day I got my permit. Yeah, so you got to be careful because, working from home, the city workers are kind of, we'll get to it tomorrow. It's like that in Hamilton. I don't know how your cities are and municipalities are, but when they were working from home, they were not working. They're just clocking in and clocking out. So you want to go to the next one there, Tom? So this one I did in the pandemic when lumber went up like triple the price. I remember I told my contractor to stack up on lumber. He's like, you're doomsdaying it too much. You're watching too much. It's too much of the Andrew Tate and all that. I'm like, no, man, it's going to happen. He's like, no, man, it's not. It did. We bought this house off market for $325. It was a cosmetic flip. It took us a little bit longer because we couldn't get LVL beams. We couldn't get wood. It was crazy. Like everything got shut down. And it was like a blame game between contractors and you. Like, oh, you should have did this. You should have did that. It was a mission. But once we got back on the market and everybody had their masks, I don't remember. We were wearing masks, guys. I had lineups outside the door where people with masks on, and we had sanitizer out there, and they should sign their name, and it was crazy. And they have to show us their passport or whatever that we called it, the immunization passport. It was crazy. But we bought this for $325. If you want to go to the next picture, we ended up selling it for $548. That's how we renovated it. We spent $50,000. So I like to partner with my contractors because if they have skin, they do such a great job. Yeah. Yeah. So now I have the company that they work for me, right? But before I used to do that kind of stuff because when a contractor has skin in the game and they're going to make more money, you should see the way they work. Oh my God. They're like, I'm done this. I'm like, wow. Where have you been all my life? What about the last project? It took you like 3 weeks to do the same thing. Oh, yeah, because you're making more money. So $50,000 on this kind of a project, $50,000 is nothing on a reno. If anybody's on a reno, $50,000 is nothing. Here, not in Cleveland. Don't get any ideas. Okay, in Cleveland, 50. That's like $100K in the U.S. So yeah, this one was a good one. Actually, the funny thing is, we'll go to the next picture. I did a project in downtown Hamilton where I took on a crack house. And this is the one. We don't even have before pictures because you could imagine what it looked like. There was needle. It was bad. I brought this to my investors, and my investors like, man, are you crazy? But I knew what was happening. The neighbor was from Toronto. The other neighbor was from Vancouver. The area was gentrifying. So I bought it for $240,000. 2019, this one, just before. And we ended up selling it for 630. And afterwards, I called all those investors and said, hey guys, you see how much I sold that house for that you could have bought for 240? They could have bought it for 240, but they were scared because the image, some streets, I don't know if it's like that in Windsor, some streets have a bad name. And the stigma of that bad name stays for generations, right? Like this is one of those streets in Hamilton, Emerald. It was known for prostitution, drugs, but now it's a nice, friendly street. It's gentrified. I private mortgage. Those ones you got to get a private mortgage, because what happens is the bank is like, nope, because they see the photos, they're like, nope. So there's either B lenders or privates, and B lenders are tight too. So I made a lot of money with private mortgages. It costs money to make money.
Yeah, that's interesting. So
Interest only. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a write-off, right?
Was that off market?
No, it was on market.
Oh, you're real.
I'm a realtor,
Realtor.
so I'm browsing the market like obsessively. I'm obsessed.
just like Cleveland, like there's tons of stuff on market.
Yeah,
Like
like
you don't have to look at it.
you don't have to look off market. Like there's a perception that every good deal is off market. It's not true. 3 things matter in that deal. 1, having the right killer to find a deal. 2, finding a weak realtor to deal with. I take advantage of so many weak realtors, and he knows that. I'm like, there's so many weak, and the one that we dealt with in Cleveland, so weak, so weak. You could tell by their photos. You could tell by their photos, their description, spelling errors on a description. Like, square footage is wrong. I bought a property that the square footage was 1,600 something. They put on the description 1,100. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot or what? It's like, and it cost $5 to get the information, but the agent was too cheap to get it. They cost their client probably $50,000. Made me $50,000, so I wasn't saying anything. I'm like, yeah, I'll pay you that. So you got to look for situations and pain points, divorce situations, find out the motivation. Sometimes sellers give you their, like you're walking through the house and they're walking right next to you and they're telling you, hey, this. They're giving you everything. So you got to look for all of these indications, but you can find great deals on the market. Even in Canada, you can find phenomenal deals on the market. You don't have to give them what they're asking. Sorry?
Those are coming in Canada.
They're already here. They're already here. Like I've gotten phenomenal deals. I bought a 5-unit building for a guy for $1 million. 5 legal units. That was unheard of. 5 legal units. You couldn't get that. $1 million. I was selling a duplex at the height. I was selling townhouses for 1.2 million. Those
When
are.
you partner with your contractors, what does that agreement look like? What's the splits?
It depends. I negotiate everything. That's my strength. I'm like, what do you want?
Because to get that rental for 50, what is he getting after?
Well, the reno is his cost. He didn't really make much money.
No,
Like-
he's making it on the back end.
Yeah, he's making it on the back end. On that one, it was a 50-50 split. But
Then he's covering his costs, so he's actually coming up that much better.
yeah, he's coming up. He may made so this one he did for me as my contractor, and he didn't believe in it. I'm like, why don't you partner with me? He's like, no. I'm like, you're gonna regret it. Walk away with 200K profit after all said and done. He's like, hey, the next one, can I be your partner? I'm like, what happened? Yeah, I messed up. The proof is in the pudding. You got to prove people wrong, right? That's just how it goes. It happened with my dad. Same thing. Did a couple flips. Then he's like, oh, I got 150K. Can you put that into something? Before he's like, don't do it. I'm afraid. You got to try it, right? So that was the Emerald one. If you want to go to the next slide. There's no more? Okay. So those are those are the ones that I wanted to show you guys. We made great profits on. I have two that I have going right now that we renovated really nicely. I got stuck with. So it happens. I got stuck with it. We have more money poured into it than I could sell it for right now. But I'm cash flowing. As long I'm cash flowing. I'm cash flowing. And the rates are coming down from 8-9%. I have a corporation. I do it as a business. So if you have a corporation and do it as a business, it's a 12% tax. Yeah. But if you put it, don't put it in personal name. Personal name's a no-no.
States is a different animal. It's a different animal in the States.
No, there's no capital gains in the States. 1031 exchange.
It's tough as a Canadian, but you can, yeah, if you get your, I think green card, you get some sort of visa, then you can do it in the right structure.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Based on my knowledge, they have a 1031 exchange where if you flip a property and you take that proceeds and you buy another property, it's 1031 exchange. You don't have to pay anything. There's so many things that they have in like better than us. And it's just, when you look at the comparison, you got to feel ripped off.
Sorry, Manny.
Yeah.
For that, do you have to buy, is there any stipulation as far as buying a property of greater
Yes.
value?
Yes. It's got to be equal or greater value.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Greater or equal value. But you can't go wrong. Like in Canada, the capital gains is like 66% now.
Especially now, they change it.
But I wouldn't suggest doing anything in your personal name here or in the state. In states, forget about it. Don't even think about doing anything in your personal name. You need a corporate structure. You need a proper lawyer and accountant, because two things that are very important. You want to protect yourself against liability, and you want to protect yourself against double taxation. IRS, CRA. So CRA doesn't know what an LLC is. We don't have LLCs in Canada. And they say, just make an LLC. It's not that easy. You know, you got to talk to your accountant that knows both sides. And trust me, I obsessed over this for 6 months. I was like you, I obsessed over it. I wanted to talk with so many lawyers, and everybody has something different to say, but you have to talk to a professional that deals with this every day. Because they'll tell you, no, don't do this, don't do that. And in the States, they have more write-offs. You could have more write-offs too. There's a lot more opportunity. Yeah, you can write your dog off.
When you do it properly, right? You gotta do it properly.
Yeah, that's the proper way. The rich don't pay any tax in the States. The rich don't pay tax here, but they pay zero in the States. It's
You're gonna pay it eventually, but if you keep moving it, you don't.
No, if you keep moving it and you make trusts and it's just, that's why you need to make the corporate structure, and then you have to make an LLC for every property. And going back to what you were saying before, to have everything in one LLC, you're open to litigation. If someone sues, all your properties are vulnerable. And you don't want that. And there's a lot of lawsuits in the US. Like, I was driving to Cleveland, there's billboard after billboard saying, hey, I'll sue this person for $300,000. I sue that person for $1 million. I'm like, God damn. Like, I called Miro. I'm like, I don't want to get sued. He's like, oh man, you're not going to get sued. I'm like, no, I don't want to get sued. But for them, it's not a big deal because, I don't know, you put things in your name. I don't know. You're very courageous. I don't want to get sued on anything, right? It doesn't really happen in Canada, right? You got to pay for the lawyer, right? I think the lawyer's included in the lawsuit.
I wonder that it's mostly if we win, we take 40% and we keep the 60, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because years ago, I had something similar, something like that, where we went in and the lawyer's like, don't worry about it, when we get the money, we'll get paid. And the thing dragged on for 12 years and nothing happened. And next thing,
Yeah.
hey, man, it's okay, we're done.
Yeah, you got to be careful. The main thing, guys, if you're investing in the state, is a corporate structure. I lost sleep over understanding it. It's very, at first, it's very daunting. But once you understand it, and then you're like, oh, it's costly, but it's worth the investment. You have the peace of mind that you're protected. And double taxation, you need a good accountant on this side that understands how the US side works. And if you make money in the US, there's ways of like invoicing yourself. You know, consulting fee, this, to write it down. So yeah, I'm gonna let Miro take back over. Thank you. Oh, Scott, okay. So I want to introduce Scott. He's from LendCIty, correct?
That's right.
LendCIty. Come on up. So he's going to be talking about mortgages, U.S. mortgages and Canadian mortgages.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too. Go ahead.
Perfect. Is this all set? Thank you. Thank you.
I guess you can mute this. Is it muted?
Perfect. Awesome. Well, welcome, guys.
Is
So
this
yeah,
muted?
I've been a lender in Canada for many, many years, but I was born in the States. So it allowed me to open up lending over there. We even opened up in Mexico too. So we're very much investor focused across all three countries. So if we can turn the next slide, I'll scroll it. Okay, so 90% of all millionaires got to be millionaires through real estate. And I think we all know that, and that's why we're here today, right? We want to learn and grow. Next slide, please. So the cool thing with us is we're a one-stop shop, and we're literally doing everything from residential and commercial in the States and Canada. So for an example, on my team here, we have 3 massive developers across Canada. One's local, the other 2 are out west. They're on our team, and they do our mortgages for our development clients. We have a team that do the US lending that specialize and invest over there. They've got 40 properties combined in the States. And so we try to provide you guys the services and the information, and so you're only working with experts. We don't want you to work with someone who lives at home in their mom's basement and they don't get the product. But being a one-stop shop, what we can do is we can work out deals. So what happens is in Canada, a lot of investors, and we discovered this after we got investing in the States, a lot of Canadians want to tap into their equity that they have here for their down payments or get a line of credit so they can purchase over there for the down payments. So with us being able to negotiate that and work with you on both sides of the border, we can cut down on your fees, we can optimize the time it takes to process. A lot of the documents the US lenders might ask for, we already have because we worked on the Canadian side. So it's just a really seamless and smooth transaction. Next slide, please. So again, here's some of the benefits of working with us due to handling both countries, right? Lower fees, better terms. Again, more access to equity. There is the one application, like I mentioned, right? Because we can take from one, put to the other. We do act as your guide. As I mentioned, we're investors as well. So again, in the States, my team, we have over 40 properties there collectively between the team. More to come. So scroll. So I just wanted to put up some examples of things that we are working on financing. So there's, and for those of you that know Ohio, this one's actually in Ohio. So there's a Class A building that we have. It's an owner-occupied business from Canada that are occupying part of it, and then the rest of the building is leased. So that's one of the deals types we're doing. Next slide, please. So then here is, this was 2 fourplexes in Washington. So they did it as a bundle though, so it was just one mortgage for 8 properties or 8 units. Next. Okay, this duplex in Ohio. Maybe you've seen this one, I don't know, but it's absolutely in Ohio. Yeah, next. And then we've got a condo Airbnb in Florida. So we literally do everything. We're even doing a 38 unit in Ohio. I keep bringing this up because we've got Ohio representation in the room. But so multifamily, we're doing a storage facility, new construction in Florida. These are from Canadians. This is Canadians that are going, like, this is not Americans I'm referring to. So it's pretty cool. Okay, next slide. So in Canada, we're part of Dominion Lending. We received their Hall of Fame award, which is what they give to the very top volume brokerages in the country. Okay, so we got that. So you're working with a reputable team here. Next. Okay, so everybody hears this. It's so hard to invest in there. I hear this all the time. Okay. Next slide. Who wants to know a little bit of a secret? Raise your hand if you want to know a secret about US lending. Okay. Next slide. Your friend is a liar. It is not hard to get lending in the States. It's very, very easy. And I know it's already kind of touched on, but I'll break it down into more depth here. So we'll go to the next slide. So financing is easy. So next one. Okay, so here's how easy. So we don't need a US visa. There are some lenders over there that want that, full disclosure, but we have over 4,500 lenders in the States, and so we just would eliminate them if they wanted the US visa. There's no US partner needed unless you want to tap into certain, like if you're buying multifamily and you want to tap into like insured property purchases, right? You need a partner for that. But beyond that, if you're buying smaller stuff, you don't need any partner. There's no income needed. They do not look at you whatsoever. It's 100% based on the income of the property. And I know it's already mentioned, but it's totally unlimited, and it really is unlimited. The lenders, what they do is when you get the mortgage with them, they just sell the debt. So on their books, then you have no mortgages. So like, it's a little weird because Canadians, in Canada, let's say TD, right? You get a TD mortgage, your annual mortgage statement's always gonna say TD. In the States, it's gonna change. They just sell the debt. Your terms and everything stay the same. So for you, there's no difference. But knowing that they sell the debt, that's why it's unlimited properties, because they don't have any on their books. They don't have any debt on their books. It's all gone.
And this is the golden ticket right here. This slide
Yeah.
right here. As an investor to hear unlimited properties, no income needed.
Yeah.
Like you got to do blood sample to get a mortgage here. So it's pretty
true.
bad. If you get like if you have a certain amount of properties,
Yeah.
some banks just turn you away.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, and there's some tricks to that too. Like we have the commercial team, so we can do like commercial mortgages on single family properties. So what we're doing is we're changing the underwriting so then we can do unlimited in Canada, but it's still very document intensive. We're factoring in a stress test. There's no stress test over there. So we're looking at the debt coverage ratios. It's so much better over there, so we can just move you forward along. Well, we have down payments starting at 25% for, they call them foreign nationals. But if you're American or you get status over there, then it's 15% down is our minimum on this product.
Sorry, Scott, these are DSCR loans. Right?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's what they call DSCR loans. And yeah, no income required, 25% down. It's phenomenal.
The property have to qualify for the DCR.
And
That's right.
How fast is the qualification for pre-approval?
Oh, it's fast. We honestly do it over the phone. When I'm on the phone with a client, I'll get the rents, the taxes, the hazard insurance. It's home insurance here, but they call it hazard insurance there. And I get the property's debt coverage ratio number, and then I literally throw that through the lender's calculator, and it spits out a price, and you will get approved for that price, providing you submit.
Same day.
Yeah.
What's the minimum mortgage?
The minimum, so it's a bit of a trick. So it's in one of my next slides, but I'll address it here because it's a live question. The minimum loan amount that I have is $50K, but it's kind of like a lie because they want the property value to be $100,000. So it's who's going to put 50% down. So I mean, we can do it, but I think traditionally, if you can get to 75, you're going to be well off. There's going to be better lenders, a lot more lenders, and better pricing. But we can go down to 50, depending. And that's loan amount, okay?
Sorry, Scott, I wanted to ask you, does your lenders also, this is another thing that we could also give us the rental money?
Yeah, we've done that. We've done that. So we have lenders. We're adding more regularly, but absolutely we can do, when you're purchasing a flip property in the States, it's between 70 to 90% down as a foreign buyer, and then the lender will give you 100% of the renovation money. Yeah,
That's
so it's
private, and then you roll it into the garage.
yeah. So ideally, that's a product though you want to sell. You don't want to keep that. And I'll explain why. It's really, really advanced. But imagine if I get you 90% on the purchase and then I get you 100% on the rentals, right? Your loan to the actual value of the property is going to be higher than what you could qualify for on a buy and hold loan. Those loan to values are lower on the buy and hold. So you got to be careful, because if you fund too much of the property and rentals up front, you might actually have to pay to lower that debt down to be able to convert it to a buy and hold. A couple strategies. I mean, we can do a transfer so you don't get money out. Those are at 75%. So the actual term for that in the States is called a cash out for rate and term. But if you're doing a refinance, you're stuck to 65 to 70% as a cash out refinance on a DSCR. And again, these are foreign buyer loan to values. The American loan to values are higher. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
Now, are those lenders property lenders or like what we call here B lenders?
It's sort of all the above. Like a lot of times it's like funds. So they'll get money from Chase, they'll get money from Blackstone, and they just build a fund. So it's considered A, lending money, not for the flips. Those are privates, right? But for the buy and hold, so a lot of it is funds, and it's equivalent of A lender pricing over there.
Yeah, because the percentages, the interests are different.
It's higher there than here, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, like we have rates for a rental starting at around 4.5 on a 5-year for like a lender in Canada. But in the States, you'll see one of my slides. I do say the lowest is 5 in one of the slides, but you're gonna be probably between 6.5 to maybe 8. That's sort of the average. The 5 was like amazingly cash flowing deal. It was a large deal too. So over there, the larger they are, the better the pricing becomes too. Okay, so we'll go. I probably think I covered this slide because we're talking about this. Oh no. So your term is your amortization. So that's something that's different in Canada. We're used to getting a 5-year term, then we renew it and we pick another one, right? Over there, what you get is what you get for the whole life of the mortgage. So your term is your amortization. So you're gonna get, if you're getting a 30-year, you're getting a 30-year. Over there though, you can actually get a 40-year as well. And you can have the first 10 years if you want, be interest only, if it's a buy and hold mortgage. So it's really crazy. So know that, that's important, that comes up a lot. Next slide, Tom. Okay, so you get to choose when your mortgage is open and closed, depending on the area, and I'm sure you know this from parts of Ohio, but certain parts, certain lenders, you have to get what's called a prepay 0 if it's in a low purchase price of a property, all the way up to prepay 5. So what that means, prepay 5 means your mortgage is open after 5 years. So you can change lenders, refinance, whatever you want. But certain areas, it is mandated that it's a prepay 0, which means you get an open loan, which does bring up the rates, but you can refinance, or as the rates come down, you can switch lenders, that type of thing. So you just want to be careful of that. Certain markets, certain parts of Michigan, I see Ohio, certain parts of Mississippi, where we have to get the prepay 0, okay? So you want to be careful of that. Next slide. Okay, so we've covered that. So lenders use the debt coverage ratio to qualify you. The only other weird thing that I see that they want for Canadians is proof that you own a property over here. They don't want to lend to somebody who lives in, you know, their mom's basement and they're buying their first investment property in another country. They're not okay with that. You do have to own a property and then they'll move forward. Okay, that's the real only condition.
Such a high barrier.
Yeah.
So they just look at coverage on that?
No.
They just want to know you own it?
Yeah, they don't care about your payments. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, it's super cool. All right, next slide. Okay, so here's some options. And again, I know I kind of touched on this, but you got a 30-year term or a 40-year. You do pay more for the extras, right? So if you want the 40, it's probably about 25 basis points higher, which is 0.25% on the rate. The ranges average from 6.5 to 9. The reason it's so big is because if you have to get an open loan, those are going to be around the 9, depending on the market, okay? But I've seen as low as 5. The minimum mortgage is $50K, 25 to 30 down. This is for 1 to 8 units. We could do much more than that, but these are the terms for that. And then generally there's a 2 to 3% total fee and compensation. Generally the lender has in it what's called an origination fee and then with the broker fee, but combined it's usually between 2 to 3% of the loan amount as a fee to set this up, of course, plus closing costs, right, like your title. So over there they use title companies instead of lawyers. Certain states like New York, you have to use a lawyer, but the rest it's mostly title companies. Okay, next. Okay, so terms, right? So 30-year principal and interest, same with 40-year. By default, they're open after 5 years, but you can pick. So in option 4, you can pick. So if you think the rates are going to be best in 2 years, you can do what's called prepaid 2 years, and then it becomes open after 2 years, which allows you to then refinance it or change lenders at that point in time. Okay, so it's pretty flexible, but just know that any year that you pay that's less than 5 years, the rate goes up a little bit, okay? And then we also have the variable rate. Now, in Canada, just like the States, when you hear of the rates lowering, it's actually the variable rates. So keep that in mind, because if you want to go with a fixed rate, they're actually pretty stable. And in fact, they've been going up a little bit the past month in Canada and in the States. Once Trump was sort of announced that he's going to be the president, the bond yield started to go up, so the fixed rate started to go up a little bit. But the variable rates is what's going down, okay? Next slide. So this slide here, and I encourage you, if you guys want to get the best rates, maybe take a picture of this screenshot, because this is literally how to do it. So if your debt coverage ratio is above 1.25, you're going to get the very best pricing. Okay, they'll do as low as 0.75 without any alteration in the loan to value, which means you can buy a property that doesn't cash flow and they'll still approve you. But below the 0.75, they're going to increase the down payment. Okay, so 40% down or more is the very best rate. So it goes in 5% down increments. And then once you hit 40, it doesn't matter if you put 50 or 60 down, it's the same rate. So if you have a strong credit in the States, you can get better rates. They have credit cards. Amex has one for Canadians. They literally will use your Canadian score and they get you set up in the States with a credit card and building a credit score. It's not secured. It's literally through Amex. You can do that, and I encourage you to, because if you have a credit score, then your mortgages are priced a little bit better for you. Okay, and then also location affects the rates. I had a client, he has 2 condos in Florida. They're both in 2 different complexes right across the street from each other. And the one was priced at 0.5% higher than the other because of the flood zone map. So the one was in the flood zone area, the other one was not. So it's like literally the postal code, or the zip code, sorry, can change the rates. Next one. Okay, so mortgage size. So I put 75K here, but it is 50. It's just to get the 50, you have to do a high down payment. Ideally, if you go with 100 or above, then you have access to almost all lenders. There's a few that their minimum's 150, but for the best pricing, if you target a $100,000 loan or higher, you'll get the best pricing. But again, like he was mentioning, right, you have to pay to play. So sometimes getting that higher rate or higher fee still makes sense if the whole deal is really good, right? Even if it's smaller than that. So again, there's rate tiers. So once you're above 125, rates come down. Once you're above 150, rates come down. So with this type of product, though, the buy and hold, so the DSCR, the lenders are looking to avoid deferred maintenance. So that is the one thing they don't want, especially because they know you're from another country. They don't want you to buy a property and just leave it as is if it has a lot of bad stuff to it, right? They'll suggest doing a renovation loan and then getting the takeout financing after. Okay, and then blanket mortgages are available. They're very common over there. To buy like 12 different properties with one loan, it's incredibly common over there to do that. Okay, so down payment, so the minimum is 25 down. Again, 30 gets you the best rates. 90% of the lenders do want the 30% down. You've got to prove 60 days of your funds. So this is your down payment. In Canada, they want 90 days. So this is a little easier because it's only 60 days, okay? But they are tracking any large deposits. So if money transfers from one account to the other, they want the history just like Canada, okay? But you get an extra 30 days grace compared to Canada. And then a lot of lenders, now that's not true anymore because we've added so many more lenders, but it used to be that most of the lenders wanted the funds held in a US bank account. But we have so many lenders now that doesn't matter. They call it the seasoning period. You can season your funds in Canada and literally transfer them on the day of closing and it's okay. So that's a bit of an upgrade there. Next one. Okay, so units. So most offer 1 to 4, but there's a whole bunch that will do up to 8 as residential, which is nice. So you don't have to go into that commercial space. Next. Okay, so this is the broker fee and comp. So again, I already mentioned that 2 to 3% is the average commissions in the States for this type of loan. We do give deals and we will absolutely work with investors that are doing multiple products and transactions. A lot of lenders do add the fees. We can add the fees to the loan amounts for a lot of the lenders, okay? So then you're not like paying that on closing, so it helps you out a little bit. You could choose a higher rate with no fee, and then the lender will pay us, but it's not worth it if you're going to do a buy and hold because you're going to pay so much more in interest that it's actually better just to pay the fee and get the better rate. Or you can go to the seller and have the seller pay your fee. So over there, you can get what's called seller concessions or seller credits. So what we do is we ask the seller to give you cash back on closing, and we use that for the closing costs. Or we can even take that cash and you can buy down your interest rate in the States. So let's say that I'm pricing it and it's 7%, you can buy it down further. So what you're doing is you're prepaying a little bit of the lender's profit and they're giving you a better rate because of it. So that's something you could do. So I actually suggest every client try to ask for a seller credit if you can, and then we use that to get you those better rates. Okay. Right, so I already touched on that. Okay, so again, this is just me explaining the seller credits, but it's awesome. I would encourage you to get that on every deal. So this slide's good. I think we're almost done. So here's the process. So ideally, again, he's right. You don't want to buy in your personal name. You want to get that entity set up because the entity then allows you to get the bank account, which you need to collect your rent anyways. There's a lot of paths. There's the done for you path. So we do know people that provide a complete service and set everything up. Or there's the do it yourself. The doing it yourself, right? You're meeting experts here. I think you're going to make a lot more money. Now, one of the unique things that we're doing on the entity setup, I told Tom about this the other day and he was blown away. We actually are setting up so our investor clients can access instant entities. So if you try to set up an entity right now, it's going to take you at least a month or two, depending on what the IRS is doing. You've got to get your EIN number and all that stuff. But I'm American, so I can set up the entities myself and then just have a portfolio of them, and then I just assign them to the investor instantaneously. So then you guys can buy right away. And like you're saying, right, sometimes you had to think about the entity setup, right? And it took you 6 months thinking of the best way to do it. We already have the best way to do it. We already know because it's...
You could sell your EINs.
Yeah, you just assign it. And I'm not even selling it for profit. We just want everybody's mortgage business. So you just pay whatever the accountant charges to set it up. And you pay the accountant directly.
I think like 1 month each setup, and then ITIN takes like 3 months.
Yep.
ITIN is another number you need for the IRS. So it does take a little bit of a setup, but
Yep.
like IRS is way faster than CRA.
Yeah.
If you can get them on the phone, they'll answer all your questions.
Yep.
Try that with the CRA.
So on our end, that's what we're working on. So then an investor moving forward can take action, right? If you see a deal of a lifetime and you can't buy it because you're setting up your entity and it delays things, like it really sucks, right? So we want to have that. So our customers that are moving forward with us, we just assign it to them. They pay the accountant their fee and we move on. So we're working on that. Super cool stuff. I think that's probably about it. Yeah, I get that. I'm American, so I can just get that. I already set up my entity for myself, like to run my business there. So we already went through all this, but I just set up shell corporations. And then I assign it.
They can buy an ITIN from you too?
Yeah, like it's all part of the package. That's what I mean. It doesn't expire, but I don't want to do too many at a time because I have to file tax returns for each entity. You know what I mean? So you want to like base it on demand. But yeah, it's super cool.
Americans get the preferential treatment, obviously, they're American, right? So they get their stuff way faster than we do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing is, once you get the ITIN, you can apply for credit cards and no interest, no payment, 18 months. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like these credit cards that they offer there, you don't have that here. 18 months, you could do 2 projects.
Yeah.
You know, you can do at least 2, 3 projects.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, because you have all the experience.
No, anybody can do that. Like the
It's
cost
not
of
a difficult
entry.
thing.
I'm curious about the flipping. Like
Yeah.
when you borrow money, like do they give you the money in stages, or they give you all the money at once, or how's the process?
For the renovations, yeah, you have to do it in stages. Depending on the lender that can do the deal, because it does depend on the location. It also depends on the type of renovations and all the stuff that you're doing, which would then determine the lender. But there's kind of 2 ways to fund it. So it's done in stages, but some lenders require an inspection. So people will go out to the property, confirm it, and then they release the money to you. And some of them, we can just take pictures. Just take pictures of the property, right? Because they have the before pictures. and they can visually see what you've done, and they release the funds without the inspection.
For myself,
Yeah.
I'm going through it. I'm sorry, Scott. So they ask for a form, and they ask for what I'm going to be spending the money on. Scope of work. Yeah, scope of work. So I did the whole scope, and I sent it to the lender. So I'm getting a hard money lender on this one because it was like under 675.
Yeah.
And I have an American partner, so I get preferential rates, right? So I got like a 9% rate on a hard money loan, which is pretty good.
It is.
And 92% loan to value, which is really good. So 92%.
And that's because of the U.S. partner. So Canadians, the max is 90%, but you have a U.S. partner, you can go 95. There's even some lenders that promote 100. I've tried to use them, but it's just been a pain to use them, so I don't like to advertise that. But yeah, with the U.S. partner, those are some of the added benefits. Because normally they're between 10 to 12 on the interest rate for this for a foreign buyer, and he's got it at 9 and a little bit higher LTV.
And if you don't use the renovation money, you don't get charged interest for that. So if I put in my paperwork that I need 40,000 and I only use 20, I'm only getting charged for the 20 that I use. So it's like a line of credit.
Now the 9% plus, there's other fees.
There's fees, yeah, but it's nothing like the fees that we pay here. It's like an appraisal fee is like $700-800. Title company is like I think $1,100, something like that. But it's nothing like what we pay here with closing costs and stuff. It's not even close. Yeah.
So you were saying about the scope of work, that's what you do?
Yeah. They send you a form. The lender sends it to you. And they're like, okay, tell me how much you're going to spend. And then tell me what your payment schedule you're looking to get. Like, it's pretty cool, actually. I've never done it that way. Usually private lenders here.
Some lenders will ask for the contractor's breakdown.
Yeah.
The renovations, and they'll do progress draws based on that.
Yeah.
But it's
That's just
unlimited
dealing
draws.
with a bigger contractor here, he's gonna progress draw you guys monthly on renovation.
Well, I never done a flip, so I was curious, like if they give you all the money up front, let's say.
Well, the flip here, they don't give you the money for the reno.
No?
No. They just, if you get a private, I got lots of privates.
Okay.
They want to show that you have skin in the game. Like you could go get a second or a collateral mortgage or whatever, but they're going to put it against one of your properties. And it's going to be a higher rate. It didn't make sense to get like a 12%, 13% rate, right? I would use my line of credit for the reno. But they're giving you the money at the same rate. So it's just like, and then they're going to give you a credit card with no interest, no payment for 18 months. It's like, they actually want you to do that project, right? Like there's so many things that I just got my ITIN. I waited for so long. And the first thing I did is I applied for credit cards. Applied for 2 US bank credit cards, no interest, no payment, 18 months on both of them. It doesn't matter.
Nobody's building a score.
I'm building a score.
It's going to help. You can use fictitious address, like I have a Detroit mailbox.
So I have a registered agent. Sorry to cut you off. I have a lawyer that made a American lawyer that made an address for me, a virtual address. It's their office, but they pick up my mail and they send it to me. So I have an address. So the American banks don't care. Just give them a zip code, give them an address. That's it. And as long as you have your ITIN, which is the tax IRS number, right? Yep. You can apply for credit. And once you start applying for credit and you're building your credit there, then you eventually could apply for a line of credit there. And then a line of credit might even be better than some of the loans you get. Like there's so many options in the U.S. that it's getting money in the U.S. like it's way easier.
You're doing that under your corp, not under your person, the credits that you're getting.
Yeah, I got 4 corporate accounts in one bank in one day. I went with Miro.
It's true, I took him. Roger came with him. He was like, "Can I get one too? Is it bank for you? Bank for you?"
Everybody got, Oprah, you get a purse, you get a, it was like, everybody got a bank account when we left. Well, I had corporate structure, I got a personal one, I got a saving. I'm like, they were giving them away for free. For free. So there's no payment. 150 transactions. I'm like, And they're like, which card do you want? Do you want the Buffalo Sabres? You want? Yeah, you get to pick it out. It was just
Sea turtle. You got the American flag, I think, or something.
which one?
The cover. They also.
Yeah, they give you a custom card. They send it to you. It's sorry. Go ahead.
No worries, no worries. No, I think that's it. If we can just put up the last slide there. If anybody has any questions, you can scan that QR code, you can book a call, and we can give you some custom advice tailored to your situation, run pre-approvals, whatever you need over there and here, of course. Any other questions?
So the only thing you looked at it, if it's your first time, is like you need to own a property in an area.
Yeah, you have to own a property and they want to make sure you have clean money for the down payments. They don't care if you buy in your personal name. They don't. I can do that, but you shouldn't for taxes, right? So like they don't have those requirements, but really you should have those requirements. But yeah, it's just down payment money. They want to see your passport because they want to check your country of origin, because this is for most foreigners across the world, not just Canadians. It's literally for everybody. But sanctioned countries are excluded, so they want to see that. So obviously it can't be expired, right? It's got to be current. But beyond that, it's pretty basic.
You also mentioned you spoke with mortgages in Mexico.
Yes.
And it's similar process.
Yeah, we bought into a brokerage there. In Mexico, it's much smaller. It's 8 lenders we have. In Mexico, it's very much based on your income. So they're going to look at your Canadian income, and then it's based on that. So it's not similar, yeah. It's different. US has got it way better. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. If there's anything, let me know, okay? No worries. No worries.
That's awesome.
No worries. How do we?
I'll just do this. I'll do that there.
Sweet. Thank you.
No worries.
So I think it's time to take a break, guys. Let's take maybe like 10, 15 minutes and just chill out. And then we got some more, I think, from Manny and Miro, and then any other questions. Yeah, sweet. Miro's going to go over some numbers of actual deals here in Cleveland, just kind of a nice review, and then ask any questions about U.S. investing as well. And then we'll get out of here, hopefully wrap this up within the next 45 minutes or 40 minutes, and then we can all get lunch and all that jazz. So, Miro, if you want, you can take this away and talk about your investment numbers.
Am I live? Am I going?
I believe you're live. You're good.
All right. I think everyone is. I think we're still missing one more person. Okay, no problem. So here we're going to go into a few different things. We're going to go into the Cleveland market, a map of the Cleveland market, the different areas. Cleveland is very confusing. C zones to B zones, A zones, F zones to B zones, transition zones, a little bit of everything. And I'm going to try to simplify it in a way that everyone can understand, just big picture, what it looks like. We're going to go over Section 8. This is a federal program for low-income individuals, people who have mental health issues as well. And we're going to be covering kind of why I think that's a very interesting strategy that's very synergistic with just how Cleveland is built in terms of real estate and a bunch of other stuff. So let's begin. So a little bit about me. I'm a real estate investor first. I always tell people an agent second. I became an agent to help my real estate investment business, not the other way around. I became an agent so I can go to the house, take a 45-minute video for myself if I'm buying it, or for a client, or for a partner, or whoever. I want to get a very good idea of what I'm acquiring, right? I can go to the houses very quickly because I'm an agent, and then with contractors, I manage renovations. I already told some people I work primarily with Spanish-speaking contractors. My mother's from Spain, so I have the benefit of speaking Spanish. It wasn't an option when I was a kid learning Spanish, but it was a great asset for me now. Managed 20-plus renovations. This was primarily, I started with an Israeli partner, and we were helping a lot of Israelis with renovations, whether it was Section 8, whether it was point of sale, whatever it was. And this was the first time I kind of saw how out-of-state investors and the problems they were facing. A lot of terrible things happened to out-of-state investors. I was doing stakeouts. I was outside of a house. The contractor said, "Oh, I was not doing this to the house." My partner was like, "Miro, listen, can you do a favor for me? I have this partner who's, this client who's having a problem." I went to the house. I was like, they are literally putting on the siding. And then he called the property management. The guy came out, started yelling at everyone in the crew, who is talking to the investors? This stuff happens all the time. You need to have someone who's there on the ground, especially for the contractors. I also see people buying houses. I walk through the house. Within 2 minutes, even from outside, just looking at the house, I was like, oh my God, this is a problem. The investors who are investing in have no idea what's going on. They probably have never even seen a picture and video of the inside of the house. But I've done 15 plus completed transactions. I have 2 right now with Canadian partners. One's a duplex, and the other one is a triplex that I'm working on now. So we'll be doing a breakdown of that deal. And I have a focus on Section 8 in Eden. So Section 8 is a federal program. I'm going to go into a little bit further. It's basically for individuals who are low income, some people who have mental health issues. And then Eden, you can kind of think of it like a nonprofit as well that does pretty much the same thing for all intents and purposes as Section 8. So this is the first deal. I actually, some of the investors are in the room here. Tom McCormick, his brother as well. When I look at a property, I look from a valuation perspective. I already have the hard money loan people who I work with. People work with me, they only have to put in like 8 to 10% of their capital. So a lot of the question really comes down to valuation. And valuation is really critical because a lot of, I remember Manny one time, he's like, $50,000, $60,000, I can put this on a credit card, Manny would tell me. And he's right, but another thing to take into account, well, obviously like Manny knows, what's the comps in the area? What do the numbers look like? So when we saw this house in Old Brooklyn for $120K, and I landed the deal, I didn't believe it. I was like, this is fake news, the agent's like punking me. We actually got this one, this is a duplex, it's a very desirable area. This area, I would put somewhere in a C+, B- for me. This is really the heart of Old Brooklyn. This is a duplex. It's a 2121. And right off the bat, when we got the appraisal back, the purchase price was $120. The appraised value, just as is, right now, $176. So we had immediate walk-in equity of $56,000. I know soup here costs $56,000, but in Cleveland, that is a lot of money. So when we got that kind of walk-in equity, we were very excited. And then when we also looked, we got the appraised ARV appraisal, and we saw it was for $260. Now, we send basically the rehab template. These are all the things they're going to be doing. The appraiser sees these things. We're going to do the LVP. We're going to be doing the garage. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing that. They look at the numbers. And one thing to keep in mind is square footage for appraisers matter big time. I was someone that, I have to be honest, square feet, I was kind of like, okay. No. Now, when my appraiser tells me square footage is king and it's extremely important, I take him at his word. This had a pretty decent square footage. So if you actually look at the 70% rule, getting back to valuation, if you just take the ARV, you do 70 cents on the dollar, very simple analysis, and you subtract the renovations. The MAO stands for max allowable offer. This is the most that I am allowed to offer to get my money back, have that 30% margin in the deal. And then, I remember when I was talking to Manny, and Manny was like, but Miro, like, why don't you do any valuation on the cash flow or anything? Like, I don't understand. That's crazy to me. It's like, I don't even have to. I know that if I am getting a house like in Old Brooklyn and I'm getting a multifamily at 110, 120,000 and the renovation is somewhere between 50, 60, 70, 80, 90,000, I know my money is going to be absolutely solid. We're going to go into the next deal, but the point here that I'm showing you is about valuation. The price is very low, but the cash flow is decent. 2,400 projected rent. This is conservative. We're already starting to see Eden pump out $1,250, $1,290 for 2-bedroom units. So this one, I think we can get $1,250, $1,290 in each unit for this one. In Old Brooklyn, we might be able to push it even more. We're going to be doing some nice finishes on this one. You can go to the next. This one was, oh man, I almost danced when I got this appraisal back. I have to be completely honest with you. This was a duplex and a single family on the same lot. This was a learning experience for me. I've never bought 2 different structures on one house, from insurance to everything across the process, a little bit of a headache. But once we got through it, it was really worth it. We got the appraised as-is value at $193,000. 110. Duplex and a single. This is in Brooklyn Center, just north of Old Brooklyn, south of the Clark Fulton area. So this one right here, we got it appraised for $193,000. So the equity was really significant. And what we looked at was, basically the appraiser said, when you take the fact that these 2 structures are on the same lot, we added the square footage together. When you add the square footage together, now he's valuing it as a triplex. Now that he's valuing it as a triplex with a massive square footage, you get a very, very nice ARV. So this is another thing that I am now almost looking for these kind of properties. I'm looking, yeah, go ahead. You know, it's like Monday morning quarterbacking. You really don't know what an appraiser is going to say. I mean, there are times that I thought it was going to go my way. It went not only the other way, it went the other way horribly. Like, it was off by like 80, 90. The other appraiser comes in, it's over by 89. It's like, it's so subjective. And because it's subjective, it's scary. I tell people there's 2 things I fear in life: God and appraisers. I mean it. Because appraisers are the one people that can smash my business. A lawyer can't do it. Someone suing me can't do it. Listing agent, buying agent, investor partner. It's an appraiser. They can, all the work you put in, they can come in at the end and just say, you know what, by the way, this isn't a bedroom. I'm going to value it $70,000 lower than you thought. Deal's done. Well, the lender, they have the appraisers who they have. So they have their people who are dedicated, and they say, okay, we're going to be sending in the appraiser, and then they go and they take the valuation just like a bank would of the asset, and then give you the appraised value.
So the interesting thing here is, sorry, on one piece of land, there's 2 properties. One's a duplex and one's a single, correct?
Yep.
And it merges together and becomes a triplex, that doesn't happen in Canada. In Canada, you don't really have 2 parcels of land. You might, but not like this. And they actually see that as a triplex, which is huge.
After this experience, I'm literally looking for these kinds of properties, because people don't know how to deal with them. They don't want to deal with that. People don't want to invest in what they don't know and don't understand. I don't know it. I don't understand it. I don't want to deal with it. But when I have a Canadian partner who's like, Miro, you're going to learn now. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to learn now. So then I go, I learn. And now I'm looking for these all day long, twice on Sunday. You see them quite a bit. They're on the market, a duplex and a single, and they're like almost on top of each other. It's super bizarre, the setup. And you're like, yeah.
Down houses, you're
Yeah.
gonna see, if you get on the email list, you're gonna see a lot of properties on there, and you're like, why? Why isn't someone buying it? And I have this conversation with Nero. He can tell you, Manny, you're Canadian. You think different.
Yeah. I mean, the praised ARV, when I got this back, I was like, I didn't even know what to say. I was not expecting the amount that high when I got it and I saw it, and I was like, my partner didn't even know where he was when we got this back. But I mean, the 75%, so with me and the Canadians I work with, you can get 75% in the cash out refi when they pull it out. This is known as the BRRRR model, the BRRRR strategy. So you take the appraised value, take 75% of it. This is more or less the projected amount of money you can take back. You can clear out all the first liens, all the costs, all the expenses, and then if you have something left, you can then, of course, use it for the investment in another property. And then just looking at the 70% rule, I mean, again, 141,000, let's be honest, this is going to be a significant renovation. I mean, this thing, flooring, paint, roof, you can tell they already finished the roof. And like Manny said, they do it in draws, depending on the lender. But the one who I'm using right now, we're going to be hitting the siding next. So this siding is absolutely horrific. I mean, people who saw this were like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to touch this. But I was like, you put a roof on there, you change the siding with vinyl and the windows. That appearance is going to be extremely dramatic from the exterior. But the bottom line is you just look at the income. Again, the duplex, each unit is 2. 2 is the most typical number in terms of the bedroom bath configuration is a 2-1. 1,200 to 1,290. Just if you hear 2-bedroom and you think Section 8 Eden, think 1,200, around there. The single family that's on there as well, I think that'll be a 4-bedroom, so that'll be more 1,700, maybe 1,800, something around there. But big picture, I would say the projected gross rent is about 4,000. So in the 1% rule, this was just a great deal.
All of the rules working in Cleveland, guys. 1%, 70%, everything hits. Everything hits.
One thing to note, like sometimes here we have you have 2 properties on one lot, at least in Canada. I've dealt with this a few times as a realtor in Windsor. Those can be mortgaged here for the most part. So how the banks, at least in Ontario or Canada, is the banks will only value one of the 2 properties, whichever one's worth more money. So we see this with farms, we see this with multifamily. You can go commercial mortgages and get that done elsewhere, and then some agricultural, for example, farms will do that as well, because some of these farmers will have those $1 million garages, but when you're trying to buy a multi-million-dollar farm and they're looking at that garage, you're not going to value that garage at all. So same thing happened. I was looking at 2 single-family houses, 1 lot. The purchase price was $335. This was about 4 years ago. It was a good deal. Even with 20% down, the banks wouldn't touch it. CMHC was one of the only ways you can actually buy it, and you would have to put 5% down. Other than that, no banks would touch it unless you went like some type of B mortgage or private, pretty much. And that still happens. There's a property on Hickory right now in the Forest City area where there's a single family house with an ADU, and same thing, the sellers want to lose it because they had to buy it, they went no conditions, found out that they couldn't mortgage it, and they went with a private lender.
Gotcha. Interesting.
They couldn't mortgage it because of the ADU?
Yeah, it's very, very tough to mortgage ADUs.
Jesus Christ.
You can go private, you can go commercial here, and then that's probably the best way to do it.
So this is, I told Manny, I was like, Manny, listen, let's start out with a zoomed out version. We had like the magic wall last time, my friend. We could.
The first version was more zoomed in, guys. So this is the heat map that we were talking about earlier. Blue is A.
And that's the key here. Think about this for a second. Cleveland is like Mordor, right? The closer you are to Mordor, oh my goodness, it's so dangerous and all this, and everything far out is like A zone. Look at this. You have A zone just everywhere. And then you have Cleveland proper up there, right? So the A zones, once you get further out from Cleveland, it's just, you're having a variation of an A zone everywhere. The prices can range from 400 to millions of dollars. And A zones, the price range fluctuations are immense. But before I get into Cleveland, just Akron, I have to be honest, I know absolutely nothing about the Akron market. Nothing. I know nothing about it. Let's go back real quick. And then you have right here to the left side, you have Lorain County and Elyria. This is like buy and hold, absolutely delicious sweet spot. This ranges from kind of C- to C+ in this area. This is an area that's still not as competitive as Cleveland. The jig is up. Cleveland, everyone knows about their mother, their brother, their sister, their cousin who wants to do buy and holds. Everyone wants to do Cleveland, but Lorain, it's still less competitive. Where you would get 20, 30 offers in a house in Cleveland, you'll probably get somewhere between 1 to 10, just comparatively, so about half, I would say. So Lorain is a very interesting area. Lorain is its own county. So Lorain is a county, and Lorain is actually also a city, ironically, which makes it kind of confusing. But to the point, you still have Section 8 over there, and Section 8 is by the county. So that's how you know the rates. You can go on their local public housing authority site for Section 8. Cuyahoga County is where Cleveland is. Cuyahoga County's Section 8 site is then going to have basically a breakdown, they refer to it as CMHA, of all the rental rates. So now let's zoom into Cleveland. So let's go in a little bit closer.
Check in here quickly.
Sure.
Sorry, Miro. So remember before when I was talking about gentrification? You see the red zones? Those are D. These are C minus. See the gentrification that's happening outside the red zones? Property that I bought is right here in a D zone. But when you're in that zone, it doesn't feel like a D zone. Average income is 100,000. So what's going to happen for that area?
For Cleveland, that's good, by the way.
That's pretty good. And the data that they give you in the US is way more than here. They tell you everything about the area, everything about what's going to happen too, appreciation, everything. So I bought in an area that's like right here. It's actually a D minus, and it's going to turn into a C because this is C minus and this is a C. So see on the outskirts, it's all the colors are changing. That's gentrification happening on the outskirts. Areas that are dead zones are like purple. Please stay away from purple. I know everybody knows purple for Barney and whatever, but it's not a friendly zone, that area, okay? That's a dangerous zone. If you see a property there for 20K, there's a reason. Like, I studied this, I came down with him, we went from block to block to block, and I'm telling you, some of these areas that are red are not red anymore. That's how fast they're gentrifying. And the yellow, and in some of these areas, I don't know if you want to touch on point of sale, oh my God.
I will. Yeah, or you can go ahead.
Miserable, but you see on the outskirts of in some of the areas, like they're red and right next to it's blue. And you're like, why is it like that? Because there's a hospital there. And that area, that hospital just dropped up the prices. So you could be in a red zone and across the street and you're in a blue zone. So it's very important to have someone out there explain this to you because when I first went there, I'm like, why do $20,000 houses, $30,000 houses? And he's like, no, you don't want to go there. And I'm like, why? He's like, I don't want to go there. Why? He's like, just trust me.
I would do walkthroughs, and it's amazing how bad your walkthroughs are for clients when you're scared to death for your life. I mean, I'm doing a video and I can just hear my heart rate going through my ears. And then so I'm like, this isn't, so I just started doing that. I mean, to this day, I'll never tell my parents about some of the things that have happened to me. I've had people break into houses while I was in the house taking a video. Swear to God, true story. I have so many stories you wouldn't even imagine them. Yeah, broad daylight, middle of the day. 12 p.m., people were having their coffee, crackheads break in, nothing going on in Slavic Village, yeah.
See that area there, like T, the downtown versus downtown, right at the top versus
Yeah.
Cleveland?
Yeah, right there.
That's the best area right there downtown. Underneath there, that area gentrified right away, Ohio City, very pricey now.
Yeah, so gentrification, it's not, you can see this in South America, you can see this in any country. There's a big movement of people who don't want to live in the hustle and bustle of the city, but they want to live immediately outside. So someone, either it was going to be the east side, south, west side was going to be the lotto winner of where the money was going to go in the gentrification. It broke out to the west. It broke out to the Ohio City, Edgewater, Lakewood, Tremont area. Now, I mean, finding a house there, 70% on the dollar is just impossible. It's just not going to happen. I mean, Little Italy, all those other areas, but southeast, this is all just very bad. A lot of people say, west side, east side. People say, Miro, I hear the west side is great, the east side is terrible. It's a chronic oversimplification, but kind of. If you look to the west of Cleveland, the only area that's really bad, like this here, I actually bought this house where it says a D+ zone. Fake news. It's not a D+ zone. This is a C minus zone by now. We got a $330,000 ARV in a triplex. That's not a D zone. And like Lee Miles, at first, I had to drag Manny to Lee Miles. I'm like, go to Lee Miles. You love bricks. There's a lot of bricks in Lee Miles. These transition zones, a lot of investors are intuitively going to say, they're going to look at the map like, not going to touch it. Why are you taking me there? Then they look at the numbers, they look around the area, and they say, you know what? A lot of people aren't going to go there because of what they think, of the stigma that they immediately attach to it, and it wasn't there as significant. Here's another point. When you go to somewhere like a Lee Miles, when you are kind of hugging the better areas, Warrensville Heights, Maple Heights, Garfield Heights, where it's going to a C zone is a natural transition.
So I want to add to that. So the house that I said we bought is right here. My
Yeah.
comp on this street is 220. I bought the house for 65,000. So 65,000.
Brick, by the way.
Solid brick. Right on this street, like not even maybe like 2-minute drive. Comp is 220. But they departmentize everything. Every area here has a zip code.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like one block to another block's a different zip code. But from here to here, huge price difference. From here to here, huge price difference. Sorry. So I just wanted to point that out. And he's right. I was like, I'm not going to a red zone. You crazy? He's like, come in. And the guy, we see the guy waving at us. He's washing his car. I'm like, this is red? He's like, yeah. And he's like, hey, how you guys doing? And I'm like, so I went back on my computer, researched everything. And I seen the average income was 75 to 100,000. The education was bachelor's degree. So I was like, this can't be a D zone. So things are gentrifying even for the people that are making these maps.
Yeah, this has to be updated a little bit.
Yeah, because it's going quickly. Sorry, I don't mean to keep jumping.
Keep going. This is one of my favorite slides. But going into the west side, just hit the west side real quick. Clark Fulton, this right here. I had a Canadian investor who was like, I want to go to Clark Fulton. I said, why? She was like, because I want to go. I said, how about we don't? She's like, how about we do? So we went. And it wasn't the best experience. She wanted to leave within 5 minutes. We had questionable people walking around, kind of itchy. And I was like, oh my God, why am I here? The tenants didn't want to let us in. They were like, who in the hell are you? Go away, please leave. And it was just, so when you see Clark Fulton, especially this pocket right here is referred to as stockyards. If you hear stockyards, no, just please don't. There was a tornado for the first time. I went to a house, it was actually a 4-family that was in that area. And there was a tornado that was active. And basically they said, take shelter immediately. So I had a choice of driving through the tornado or going into a basement in Clark Fulton. If you would have seen that basement, you would have went in there either. I went straight through the tornado, swear to God. So those are the only really bad areas to the west of Cleveland proper is really Clark Fulton. Everything else is like C- or better. So you have Parma Heights, Brook Park. Like these areas, you can do buy and holds here, but this is something for flips. I think I went with the McCormick brothers to a house in Parma before. Everything to the west here is going to work. Old Brooklyn, this is very, very hot area right now. Old Brooklyn, both deals are in kind of that area. You have the deal with Manny, which is kind of in that delicious Lee Miles pocket. That for buy and hold is just built for it. Clark Fulton on the west side, just ignore. But let's talk about the east, because the east is really the most complicated. This is where I started. In the Newburgh Heights area, this is famously known as Slavic Village. This is where I started doing flips with my first partner. I had no idea at the time it was how bad the zone was. We were buying houses for $20,000, flipping them for $80,000, minimum cosmetic work, sometimes adding bedrooms by just throwing up a wall and getting decent money, just very quick. I mean, in and out like a robbery. You were in there 2-3 weeks. If the police wasn't stopping me on the way out, I took too long. But we did a ton of those deals in there. And this area was not good at all. It is still a D zone. It's still a bad zone. And that's where the crackhead's broken. But that whole area is very bad. You don't want to go into anywhere about it. But as Manny is saying, you have these transition zones. You have these areas which are kind of on the border that are really more C-. Like one famous one is like in the corner pocket of the Heights going into Garfield Heights. So I have another client who has a house who did a flip there. Most people, I remember when I took Manny to 4 for 105, he was like, Miro, how do you take me to 4 for 105? I was like, what part? He's like, Slavic Village. I said, what part of Slavic Village? Because there's differences in these areas when it transitions into a better area. The area starts getting better as you get closer to a more C and B zone. And then as you go here, these heights, these are the point of sale areas. At first, you know, I was like, I hate point of sales, they're the worst thing ever. But once you learn how to work with them, most of the cities are not horrific. And basically what the point of sale means is when a seller wants to sell a house, they basically have to have an inspection done. The inspector comes by, and either there's an exterior and an interior point of sale, which means the inspector goes by and they says, you see this garage? It's kind of leaning, my friend. You need to knock this down. Then you need to build it back up. That's $15K minimum. Then they look at the siding. They're like, this wood siding, I want vinyl siding. I feel like vinyl siding today. Remove all the wood siding. I want you to put vinyl siding. That's another, what, $4 per square foot, something like that. More money, more money, more money you have to do. Now, it sucks on the front end. If you're buying, you can negotiate. If you get it at a good price, great. But the one positive I would mention is, guess what happens when you do that kind of renovation? The prices of everything goes up. So ironically, the point of sale, this is as close to socialism as we get in Ohio. Ohio has become extremely conservative and Republican. So in the kind of more liberal areas, you have the point of sale where the city comes in and they feel like they can do that. But the ARVs tend to be higher in these areas. Right now in Garfield Heights, we're going to be showing you in a slide, the price year over year is just skyrocketing. Investors are coming in, foreign money, because as I told you, the Ohio population has been stagnant to declining in Cleveland area. But foreign investors are coming in a big way. So let's hit the next slide. So now we're going to go into some different areas. And Manny designed this because he wanted to kind of show all of you that Cleveland is a lot more diverse than just F zones and D zones that everyone hears about. You have C zones, you have B zones, you actually have a lot of A zones around. So Hinckley is a perfect example. This is to the south. This was kind of in the blue area that we were in. This is kind of near Strongsville, Brunswick. This is just fix and flip territory. So this is where Manny can do his high-end, very high-end work and make some good money here. So I mean, look at some of the MLS list price, $1 million. When you get into the A zones, the prices can fluctuate anything from $400,000 to millions of dollars. So these areas do absolutely exist.
So if you want to just go back there, Tom, I wanted to add something to what Miro's saying. This is what they show you. They show you what the home forecast prices are going to be on their data, on the data forms. They give you all the information. They give you the crime rate. They give you the education rate. You see 94 out of 100. The crime's only 10 incidents in the last year. They're 98. That means it's a really good area. They give you all the data. Well, the Realtor site. It gives you all the data that you need as an investor. Like for us, we have to go on multiple sites to capture the data. They have it one click away. It's one click away. And family score, look at that, 100 out of 100.
Was that Trulian?
No, that's the Realtor site that
Multiple listing service.
MLS, the matrix side from the Realtor side. But if you're looking, he can share that with you. Like that's the stuff that your Realtor can share with you. So you don't have to go on Zillow and you don't have to go on all these different sites to find that information. It's all on 2 or 3 pages. Everything you need to know. Like when I found that out, I was so pissed. Because I'm paying ridiculous Realtor fees and I don't have that access. And your fees are probably much lower out there in Cleveland. I have to pay for square footage on a house when I list a house. They have square footage of what it was built with, what's underneath there, it's plaster. It's like, whoa. They even tell you how much mortgage the person owns on it right now. To even give you the opportunity to negotiate or take over that mortgage. You don't get that in Canada. Like I was joking around when I was looking up Miro, I found out Miro's mom's name, his sister's name, and I'm like, I called him, I'm like, Miro, how come you don't have a parking ticket?
Yeah, he was like, how do you not have a parking? I can't work with this.
You don't have a speeding ticket? Like the data in the States is crazy. There's no privacy. There's absolutely no privacy. And if someone does someone wrong in the States, that's a good thing. You could figure that out right away. But with the data with the houses, they tell you everything. everything you need to know. Like he has access to this form through everything. And they even tell you the rent, how much your rent you're going to get, which is crazy.
Yeah, we'll cover that in a moment. I'll show you guys where you can see all that. Too.
Sorry, keep jumping in.
No, good. Let's go to the next slide. So this is Lyndhurst. This is more towards the east side. You know, when people say, "Oh, east side is bad," it's just I don't even know what that means. I think people mean intuitively like it's a D or F, like it's a bad, it's an unsafe area. But you have areas like Lyndhurst. So this is kind of in the Euclid pocket. This is kind of like hugging the lake to the northeastern portion here. Here you can do flips, you can do Airbnb, single family. There's no point of sale in this area, so you don't have to worry about the city going by and saying you have to fix all these things. That's not going to happen here. I think that area is a little bit more conservative area. And then here's just you see how it's in the South Euclid district. South Euclid, we've already missed the boat there for 5-10 years. That area is pretty much gone for buy and holds. That area is now more for flips just because the purchase price has just gone up there too much. So that's unfortunately one of those areas that no longer is really viable for buy and holds typically because we just have better opportunities. Our money can go into places where for buy and holds is just too much better. Now, with the critical assumption being that you're not doing an Airbnb. If you do an Airbnb, yes, and you know what you're doing, that's out of my kind of wheelhouse, so I'm not going to talk about that. But Airbnb is something that people are doing, and I'm also hearing a lot of rumblings about pad splits right now as well, that people are starting to do in Cleveland as well, which is, everyone is talking about that. So Garfield Heights, so this is one of the C zones. Garfield Heights is very close to Manny's property. You can do pretty much it all here. The C zones are very dynamic. I wouldn't do Airbnb in those areas, but they tend to be built for buy and holds. You can also do flips there. Garfield Heights, you can get property if you buy a good at about $90,000, $80,000 now would be somewhat decent price. You can flip it towards 150s and higher. In Garfield Heights and the Heights area really in general. But there is a point of sale here. And basically, when you go to the MLS and you say, hey, Miro, look up this property for me, I go in and I click on the attachments. It has the point of sale right there. It's a document. I use WhatsApp. I can't live without WhatsApp. I use it about 3,000 times a day. I send it to the client or partner, whoever it is, and then they can look it up. They can see all the line items. Just think of it like a scope of work. They're giving you a free scope of work of all the things you have to do. And it even tells you how much you have to have in escrow. It varies from city to city, but I've kind of learned to love the point of sale in its own way. Let's go to the next slide. This is, I think this is the one in terms of home prices. Look at this. Last 2-year home appreciation, 25%. People who are like, Cleveland is cash flow market, they're 100% correct, but unfortunately the word is out. Everyone knows about Cleveland. People are getting so many offers about Cleveland on every single house, and if it's a good house, if the agent knows what they're doing, they put it at a really stupid low price. They put it on the market just for one day, and one day they get 50 or 60 or 70 offers, create a bidding war, and then they make a huge amount of money on the list for their client. And that's really what's happening in Garfield Heights. When you see something in that 80, 70, 90K range, people are just crushing each other to get into these houses. Yeah, I think this is just a zoomed in one. Just move forward. This is Lee Miles. So again, I had to drag Manny to this one. He's like, I'm not going. I'm like, we're going. He's like, I'm not going. We're going. So we finally went. And when he went, he noticed something in the area of how it was transitioning, how it was changing. To his point, gentrification. I remember the Peter Baelish quote when he said, chaos is a ladder. These areas, a lot of people don't know what to do with them. They're confused. They don't understand. Is it a D? Is it a C? They're afraid to invest in there. If you're someone who's going to be doing long-term buy and holds, it can be very interesting. If you're kind of someone with a land banking mentality, these kind of areas that are, what are they, D plus or C minus? It's hard to say. People will debate them because it's not exactly, these grading scales are kind of a subjective term. What does a C minus or D plus mean? What's really the difference? I view it as income. Income dictates everything. Income can dictate desperation. Income can, dictate luxury. Where you live as a data point is the most expensive data point to collect in the United States, because where you live tells me statistically with a very strong chance your ethnicity, your political leanings, your income level. It tells me almost everything about you without knowing anything about you. So when they tell you kind of a grading scale, this is telling you really about a safety issue, and for me, how much income I can make. If I'm seeing more of a B and A zone, income is going to start to lag. When I see more of a C zone, that to me is the sweet spot. So let's go to the next slide. So you see, to his point, like you see it's in the Cleveland Municipal School District, and look over here. Last 2 years, home appreciation. This is what keeps me up at night. The 20%, when I see capital appreciation, I hate it. I don't want to see it in Cleveland. It's unfortunately starting. And that's why I tell people this opportunity, how it exists right now, is going to exist for about 5-10 years. For buy and holds, you can always do flips here, Cleveland, anywhere else. But buy and hold specifically, I think within 5 to 10 years, this opportunity is going to be gone. And that's why I have no life. And I do this all day. Because I want to get as many of these in Section 8 as I possibly can. So multifamily, so I bought one for 110, 120 on the low end of this scale. I'm incredibly cheap. I send out so many lowball offers. I am yelled at by agents all day. By the time it's 2 p.m., I'm convinced my name is moron, okay? Agents get very upset with me, but I'll tell you what, a lot of the agents don't look at this from an investor perspective. If they understood an investor perspective, they would understand the numbers. They say, Miro, this is insulting. I'm insulted. My client's insulted. All 3 brothers who own the property are insulted. I'm like, okay, let's talk about the numbers. What's the ARV for you? That's not the ARV. Let me show you the numbers. I say, this is the minimum renovation. She's like, oh, it only requires 10K. I was like, this is an over conversation. You just don't understand. And that's how it is. You know, when they get upset, it's because they don't know what they're doing. Not everyone is a Manny who does their own flips and their own renovations, who understands the cost. They just don't know. So when they see a lowball offer, they're just offended because they just don't know any better. So you can't really get too upset with them. But for me, when you already see it priced right, or to Manny, when Manny said bad pictures and all those things, I view a terrible agent as like a motivating factor. The agent has no idea what they're doing. They're taking these horrible pictures of a property. Like Manny said, I just attack. So yeah, I mean, overall, the prices here for multifamilies are very low. This is what I'm primarily doing with Canadian partners right now, is 2 to 4 units. Go to the next slide. I somehow have become known as like a Section 8 specialist. I've done renovations for it. I've had my own properties, but this is something that I did a presentation almost exclusively based on Section 8. This was about 6 months ago. And Section 8 is very exciting for people because it's just amazing. It has its bad parts. Nothing is perfect. And Section 8, it takes a long time to get the tenant to the house. It can take like 2 months. With Eden, from when you finish the renovation, it can take about 3 to 4 weeks, so it's a little bit faster. I'll go into that in a little bit. But Section 8, again, is a federal program. You have Mr. HUD up top who says, this is the money that we're going to be providing. These are the rents that we're going to be providing for these allotted bedrooms based on these zip codes. And then you have the PHAs. Think of the PHAs like me. They're the boots. They're the people who are running around actually dealing with the things on the ground. So very often, Public Housing Authority, like in Cleveland's the case, they go to HUD like, HUD, you don't understand what's happening over here. We need more money to compete and bring more landlords into our program because the stigma that Section 8 has is very thick. And the only way you can defeat that stigma is appealing to the greed of the landlords. If you offer a landlord $1,700 and the cash tenant can get $1,400, well, they're gonna be like, okay, I'll try a Section 8. I mean, how many of these Section 8 millionaires that exist now, they got into this by accident? Oh, the house is Section 8? I didn't know that. Then they got in, they realized what it was and what it represented and how to work it. Just make more money.
So Miro, I have a question for you. Section 8, who do they pay?
They pay the landlord directly. It's it's not only the government that's paying you directly, and oh my goodness, in the beginning of the month, and you get those notifications, it's delicious. But also the tenant also pays you their portion directly. Yeah.
Now, could the tenant go back to the government and say, can I get the money straight up and I'll pay the landlord? Because they do that here.
When I heard that, it blew my mind. The conflict of interest.
That's a
there is
Canadian
so
thing.
catastrophic. But I've never heard of that happen.
Because like Ontario Housing Authority here will make a deal with the landlord when the tenant comes in and says, okay, we'll give you the money, but after a few months, the tenant could have the tendency to go back to the housing authority and say, hey, can I get the money? I made a deal with the landlord. Mind you, they're lying most likely, and they never pay again. And
I have
we get stuck.
anxiety just listening to them.
Yes, me too.
I would have anxiety problems. Like, it's went up 20%. Like, I can't feel my
Well,
neck.
that
About it gives me that, blood pressure just thinking
Yeah.
about it.
I met Miro through the Section 8 presentation that he did for Wealth Genius, and this blew me away. You're paying the landlord directly? And I was
Amazing
like,
that you think that's amazing.
You evict a person that's in Section 8? And how long is the process of eviction if?
Sure. So for Section 8 in Eden, it's a little bit, so Section 8's a little bit longer for Cuyahoga County. Let me explain this the best I can. Forget about HUD for a moment. Think about the Public Housing Authority. That is basically the local admins that are in the county that are doing the Section 8 program and working with the tenants and the landlords. In Cleveland, which is in Cuyahoga County, we have the Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority, commonly referred to as CMHA. CMHA is the people who, if you have a house and I'm helping you to put a tenant in, or a property manager is helping you put someone in, this is who you're going to be talking to. You're going to be sending the paperwork, referred to as a HAP agreement, and you'll be sending it to them. The tenant is going to go to you. You're going to do your own marketing. You put it on Zillow, for example, and you say Section 8 Eden tenants allowed. You're going to get smashed with people sending you messages when you put Section 8 Eden, especially if the house is renovated. It's a 3-bedroom, multi-family, but single families in particular. I mean, you're going to get a million messages. But the point for Eden, when the renovation is completed, with Eden, it's about 3 to 4 weeks. With CMHA, it's longer. It can be months, like 2 months, and it depends because you have to pass an HQS inspection, Housing Quality Standards. I think Section 8 in Cuyahoga County calls it something else.
I want to touch on that inspection, guys, because I looked at the inspection. It's a joke. Does the door handle work? Do the windows open? That's inspection. It's not like a inspector that comes here that's like, oh my God, the smoke detectors and this and that and fire rated. No, none of that stuff. Does the door handle work? Does the window open? And while Miro was, taking me through this inspection, I was like, are you kidding me? The door handle should be working. The window should be working for any tenant. So that's what they look for. A functioning house. That's all they look for.
I had this out-of-state investor come to me one time, and he said, Miro, I have my person, my boots on the ground, and he doesn't go to the inspection. And I was like, what do you mean he doesn't go to the inspection? He doesn't go to the HQS inspection? Like, yeah, he doesn't go. He doesn't think it's worthwhile. That blew my mind in so many different ways. First off, when they go to that house, they're literally telling you all the things you have to do. They're like, oh, you see that window? A window has to open. It has to maintain open because fire safety issues. It has to close and has to be able to lock with the sash lock, right? If just one of those windows fail, everything fails. It's a zero-sum game. I go with my contractor. Like when I do these houses for myself, I go with them. Not only do I go with them, I want to know everything about the inspector. Does he like Monster Energy drinks like I do? Does he like iced cappuccinos? Oh my God, you're like at 70 degrees Celsius. I have it right here. You know what I mean? He tells a joke, no one laughs harder than I do. And I go with my contractor. My contractor is taking a note of every single thing that he's going through as we're going through the house. And I tell him, I just want to, your time is precious. I'll take a picture of it for you. I'll send it to you. We'll take care of it same day. The bottom line is these people actually care about the tenant. And I've seen people, I think unfortunately Hollywood portrays it that the bad person is always the landlord and, landlords are always evil. It's the other side as well, but I have seen definitely some slumlord issues. I've seen things going in houses I was thinking about acquiring. I saw the tenant living in situations that I'll never forget to this day. I mean, to be honest. And a lot of these programs, they're not Section 8 because Section 8, they check up on the house. They don't allow these disastrous situations to be occurring. But the key thing is you can be waiting for that report for 1 week, 2 weeks. You have no idea when that report's gonna come. I don't even know, if I didn't go, I don't know who the inspector is. I don't know who to talk to. So you have to wait 2 weeks. Imagine if you're an investor and I'm just working as as an agent, I don't go to that inspection. You wait 2 weeks, which you're bleeding on the utilities, you're bleeding on the taxes, someone could go into the house, move in, anything could happen, and then you get the report back. Now you have to make those changes, then you have to book him again, then he has to go out again, go in, send the HAP agreement, and finally get the person. So then you can add it easily another month, easily, just by not going to the walkthrough. Instead, I can have a picture done, it's sent to him, he's happy, everyone moves forward, he closes in half the time, he gets the tenant in the house. So that's the key for me. So the next question is, well, why would you do Section 8? And then an even better question, if you're going to do Section 8, why would you do it in Cleveland? The first is premium rents. If you go more into the A-zone area, it's by zip code. So they're going to try to compete, right? Section 8 is going to try to push what they can, but they're not going to pay $8,000 for something you can get in Ohio City or some ridiculous rent somewhere. I mean, just a little bit of a ridiculous example, but the key is they really pay premium rent in the more C and B zones. People don't know this. When I go to events and people are presenting, I have to cover my ears because when they talk about Section 8, they're just talking the stigma. They didn't do the due diligence. They didn't look into it. They have no idea what the Section 8 rents are. So I'm like, okay, I didn't hear anything. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to put them in evidence, right? But the reality is for C and B zones, you can go on the CMHA site itself. If you're going to ask me, I'll send you the link, and you can just see what the rents are for yourself. That is huge for an investor to know what your cash flow is going to be. So premium rent is something that's interesting. Subsidized by the government. Typically, what you're going to see is up to 100% is going to be fully subsidized by the government for the tenant. So technically, I mean, do I really care what their income is if 100% is being covered? Not really. But if they're making, 70% is being sent to you, I want to see 30%. I want to see a 3x multiple of that amount that the rent is in terms of gross income coming in. But this is very strong. I mean, you're talking about worst case scenario, you could be making around a 70% floor of cash flow. For someone like me who's super conservative and just thinks disaster situation, I'm super stressed out all day, this is one of the few things that calms me down. And reason number 3 is recession resistant. Not only is it recession resistant, I pray for a 2008 liquidity crisis event. I pray for it every single day. It's never going to happen because the government, like when coronavirus happened, they had a decision to make. We can either take an acute and severe depression. I mean, people couldn't even congregate. Every business in the country would have been shut down, would have went bankrupt, or we drop helicopter money everywhere, cause global inflation, which is obviously what happens. Ports in China and everywhere couldn't even deliver supplies. Pigs couldn't even get slaughtered. Nothing could happen. So they dropped helicopter money. Now, if you had a recession like 2008 and that actually happened, which, again, government realized they can just guarantee all the debt, flood money everywhere, so it won't. But if it did, imagine what was Airbnb like in 2008? What was all these other kind of investment strategies like? They were very hectic. Section 8, you're still collecting rent. Think about it this way. The value of your portfolio could go down to 0 and you're still collecting income. Talk about thinking disastrously. But that's something to keep in mind because cash tenants, What do you think is happening with cash tenants when they suddenly can't pay? They stop paying, you have a terrible decision to make. You have to kick them out, then you have to renovate it, or you keep them in, you make a deal, but now you're not making income. A lot of trade-offs you have to make. And reason number 4, I think we were speaking about this earlier, if you understood what Section 8 tenants have to go through to get on the waiting list to get on the program and to get into the house, unless that house is getting hit by a meteor, they're not moving. It takes forever for them to get into a house. And then they have to compete with a ton of people to actually move into the property. Unless they're moving or there's some significant issue that's happening, those tenants typically stay a lot longer, sometimes multi-decade. And then reason number 5. Really, besides putting all new siding on a property, I'm hard pressed to think of any way that you can increase the value of your house like you can with rent. With Section 8 in Eden, you can increase about 5 to 8% every single year. So you can do an increase of something like 50, 70 some dollars. Every single year like clockwork, there's a form that you send into them. You just be conservative, you just say, okay, I just want $50. They're likely going to be granting you your increase. And when you're increasing something that you're already making $1,700 on, 50 every single year. Think about that. That's like 600 additional on cash flow per property. Imagine you have 20 of these. Imagine you have 5. Imagine if you just had 5 of those. And that's your income increase that you're getting per annum per property. And then reason number 6, and I think I've already hit on this 500 times, but the rents with the low house prices. My favorite slide is going to be coming up, so I'll hit on it more there, but it just makes a lot more sense. And things are slowly starting to change. I mean, Manny hit on this. He comes 6 months later, and sometimes you have to kind of be away so you can see it better, right? And this is definitely the case because especially around Cleveland, downtown proper, you're seeing a lot of money that all the years I've been living there, 30-some years, I've never seen the changes that I've been seeing now. And when you see the money going into the city, that means people are investing in the whole area. And this is my favorite slide. So I kind of joke, like, Miro, you're trying to sell me on buying in Cleveland and you show me a multi-decade decrease in population. It's like, this is a bad ending. I actually tell them this is why, to me, Cleveland is such an exciting place, because it's been like stale bread in the refrigerator that no one's wanted. The prices have relatively stayed neutral to slow increase. I showed you the slides of Garfield Heights, Lee Miles. Now that's changing, unfortunately. We're seeing capital appreciation actually becoming a thing in Cleveland, which was never heard of before. But when every other state, all the other cities, even Columbus and Cincinnati are going up in price, now everyone's looking around, everything's too expensive. They're just being funneled into Cleveland, just naturally. They're being funneled because they see lower prices here. So they start to look into it. Then they start buying here. But you see right now, like a lot of things in life, it's all about timing. So you see that hockey stick, how it's starting to go up. I spoke before about how Ohio started to become more conservative, and Florida as well. For example, some states, you look on CNN in the US, they're no longer battleground states. You have a lot of people who have moved in to the state, to Ohio in general. So that state has started to change significantly. And then this is, I was a financial analyst in a past life. So I am super nerded out by this stuff and I absolutely love it. But I build out, I don't build out, I take the Excel model, I clean up the data. And what I in essence do is I take the Lorain County and the Cuyahoga County areas. And for my investors, I send them this, which is a file which is on the HUD site. This is going to tell you for everywhere in the United States, the rent that you're going to be getting with Section 8 Eden. So Manny's like, Miro, what's the rent in this area? I immediately just say the Section 8 Eden numbers, because if it's a C or B zone, I know it's the premium rent. That's what we're after. If I'm not getting that from a cash tenant, not interested. I'm just going to go with Section 8. I think Section 8's better anyway, so that's what I'm going to use. But look how they break this down for you. So you have SAFMR, single area fair market rent. Which is very interesting about this is what they realized is that if they go into the city, it's more dynamic. You have C zones, B zones, A zones, F zones. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to vary it based on the zip code. And they said, well, if we just offer the same amount in all the areas, they're just going to go to the most terrible area like East Cleveland, buy up everything, get $2,000 rent for everything. So they were like, we have to think a little bit smarter. We're going to give a specific rent and the higher rents in the opportunity zones. The opportunity zones, when you go in, that'll be the next slide, but let's stay here for a second more. What basically happens is the rent, they can jack it up a lot more. They're going to say, I want to make it more competitive, more Section 8 people here, because there's bus systems, there's education systems. These people, their lives are going to be raised in terms of their income and their quality of life. Let's go to the next slide. This is the site right here. This is, I don't even look at it anymore because the numbers are just burned so deep into my psyche, but I used to be on here all the time. This is the CMHA website. If you're looking to invest here and you're looking to do buy and holds, rents, you just have to know this. You have to know these numbers. You have to be able to look it up. This has to be a bookmark. This has to be a favorite on your computer. And what you basically see is you see the bedroom and you see the payment standard. Think of the payment standard as the max amount that Section 8 is going to give you for that property. Now, I'm not saying that unicorns don't exist, but I almost have never seen someone get the maximum payment subsidy. Not saying it hasn't happened. I saw one where I was like, oh my God, how did you get that much? I have no idea if they just put a refrigerator or a pool in the back. I have no idea what happened. But there was one time, but all the other times you can see about 80, 90% of this number. You can boost it if you put like a refrigerator, you put in a stove, you do a very nice finish like Manny does. You can probably get an extra nice little bump in your numbers. But this is overall what you're going to be seeing. And this has primary FMR. This is extremely important. This is basically saying agnostically, everywhere in Cuyahoga County, this is pretty much your floor. This is ground zero. So when someone's like, what's the minimum that you can make with Section? I just say 1,500. Just a 3-bedroom, 1,500. Just reflexively. That's more or less the number. If it's a 4-bedroom, I say something around 1,700, high 1,600s. Because that just more or less net all across the county, everything Cuyahoga County, what it nets at. Let's go to the next slide. Now keep looking on that number there. Now it's 44114. This is the northeast pocket of downtown Cleveland, kind of by the water. Look how the rents have gone up. That's a zip code.
So they give you areas. They tell you what they're paying in that area. What else would you want as an investor? They're telling you what they're willing to pay you for rent directly to the landlord. Like, imagine we had something like that in Canada. I think
This is for Cuyahoga County. So this is the whole area around Cleveland, a big chunk of area around Cleveland. The C stands for Cuyahoga. Cuyahoga is the county. So these sites are by county. Lorain, which is to the, I show you to the west, that has the Lorain Metropolitan Housing Authority. LMHA, this is Cuyahoga County. Where Cleveland is, this is CMHA. So, you know, you can all Google this, but make sure if you're investing in Cleveland, you have, even if you're like, you know what, Miro, I disagree with everything you've ever said. I'm not going to do Section 8 even ever. This is going to tell you more or less what the premium rents are. So HUD, so let me, thank you. HUD is the big money bags, federal government, HUD, who disperses the capital to the local public housing authorities. CMHA, LMHA, these are referred to as the public housing authority. These are the local minions like me who are on the ground, who are actually dealing with the landlords, they're dealing with the tenants and all of those people. So these are referred to as the public housing authorities. These are the people on the ground on the county level.
So did they increase the numbers between HUD and these, or did they reduce it, or is it the same numbers?
Say it again?
So let's say HUD sets 1,200 for
Yeah.
a bachelor. Does the CMHA or the LMHA or whatever city,
Yeah.
do they change those numbers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what happens very often, like Cuyahoga County, the demand is so brutal that the Public Housing Authority, CMHA, they go to HUD and like, HUD, you don't understand what's happening. We need more money. You know, we're not convincing enough landlords. The demand is way too strong. We're tens of thousands deep in the red. We need more landlords. So what they do is they go to HUD and they can increase like an extra 10%. I think sometimes they might be able to get even more. But like right now, if you go to the CMHA site, I believe it's higher than the HUD numbers. I don't even look at the HUD numbers because the HUD numbers to me for CMHA, you look here, the numbers are higher here. This is where realistically, I think I feel more comfortable looking at the numbers is looking at the CMHA site versus HUD. Because CMHA, they're the people who, HUD is, it's a federal program. You know, they're little analysts who are in their little cubicles who aren't on the ground in the area. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's brutal. Well, you need to understand, there's some other people, I'm not going to mention their name, who I've come across in these education platforms who have a very negative view of Section 8. And a lot of the times because they've had a bad experience with it. One of the big problems with Section 8 that has to be said that you will hear, it's a very political issue. It's a very divisive issue in terms of real estate because it's one of the few things where it gets very political as well. Who do we pay money to as a city where we're paying taxes? Do we pay taxes so someone else can live rent-free? There's a lot of animosity there. There's a lot of emotion there. There's a heavy stigma associated to this program as well. So you have to convince the landlords to do it. And one of the problems is the landlords basically say, Section 8, people are going to destroy my house. I had a Section 8 tenant when there one time, hammered everything. It was completely destroyed. I'm never going to do it again. They had an emotional experience. I would just say the key thing is you need to screen your tenants. My first partner, he was just so excited. We finally went through this maze of hell to finally get to that point. And we were to the point where we wanted to put a tenant. He was like, just put him in, put him in, put him in. I'm like, how about we wait, we relax, we screen you just shoved him in. Now I think that person's dealing with an eviction for that property, if I remember right. So the key is you have to screen. You have to look at 3x income. You have to look at eviction history. You know, some people do criminal history. Some people do this. Some people do that. You have to have standards. When they come by, what does their car look like?
And all of that is accessible. The data is accessible.
Yeah.
Like you could find out everything about an American. It's scary. It's actually scary. You could even find out their doctor's name. Like, why would you need to? I know your doctor's name, by the way. Really? Yeah. So, like, you could find out everything. It's scary.
When I found that out and we were searching some people's names.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's scary. No,
Yeah. Yeah. Their phone numbers, their past phone numbers, like their aunt's phone number, their mom's phone number. I have all your family members' phone numbers, by the way. So it's like if you're screening a tenant, it's a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah. So I'm good to the next slide. So wrapping this up, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook. I'm going to open this up to Q&A if you have any questions. I know I covered a lot of different issues, but I know Cleveland's a little bit complicated. I honestly don't know how out-of-country investors do it because myself, I'm a very anxious person, and if I'm not in control and seeing the properties, it's very tough. But you know, Manny and I, you know, we can help you. We can work with you. Let us know kind of what you're looking to do, what's your strategy, and we can help you get set up in Cleveland and work with you. But it's a market that's very exciting, very interesting, and you can make a lot of money there. But you have to have your team, your people. You know, that's the main thing. If you don't have them, there's an investor I know who just comes every month from Israel just to put out fires. Just constantly comes, just disaster after disaster. They don't have a person that they know, they don't have a person that they trust. Then you have other people who have their team, they have their people, they have their contractors, they have their agents, they have everything, they have a team they set up. They put in the money and it's, you know, it might not be as, oh, I have to put no work in, right? You still have to look for the deals, you have to keep your eye on everything, but I mean, the McCormick brothers are doing it right now in a house. They don't have to drive down there. They don't have to do anything. They know people, right? Manny knows people. You know what I mean? And he has his own people too. He has his own contractors on top of it. So it's just the right team. You have the right people. The opportunities are there. So no problem.
Thank you, Miro. Thank you, Miro. Okay, we're gonna go to the next. So actually, Tom, if you want to come up here, and so he mentioned team. I connected with Tom through Wealth Genius. Connected with Miro through Wealth Genius. I've connected with now. I'm connected to Tom's brother. We got a lot out of networking with people, right? And you're only as strong as your net worth is your network. I always say that. Like, you're as strong as your team. You're as strong as who you know. You're as strong as who you got with you. You know, I got Miro there, boots on the ground, and I call him daily, and he answers. That's really good. That's a really good thing for a Cleveland realtor. You passed that test. You know, we have him on the ground, photos, videos, watching stuff. Tom's doing some projects. He's working with us also with the Manifest team. He's got some stuff going on with his brother in Detroit. We all work together in this realm. Like we're doing the same stuff. So that's why, yeah, we have our own ecosystem. We're doing it ourselves. Now we're offering it out to others. You know what I mean? We can help others also while we do our own. So that's kind of what we're doing. We've come together. We've joined forces. I like to call it the Avengers. You know what I mean? Tom looks like an Avenger. Tom and Miro. I might be one of the smaller Avengers, but if you want to click on the next slide. So what our value prop is, our value added proposition, we always take older houses that need work, that need renovations, and we force appreciation. I know Tom does that a lot. Miro, he always is fond believer of that. We never buy beautiful houses in great neighborhoods. You can't really make any money on that. You got to buy transitional zones where you could force appreciation. And believe me, I double run the numbers. He runs the numbers. I run the numbers. I'm a realtor. I'm a Canadian realtor has had a lot of investor clients that are like, run the numbers, and we overanalyze a little bit. And Miro knows that because he's like, oh my God. Don't worry, you're going to make money. The ARV is this. I'm like, okay, show me proof. Show me this. Show me that. Show me. Because I'm thinking as being his client, right? How clients are towards me. So we overanalyze it to make sure that the numbers make sense. We add the value with the renovations. The big thing with us is if you work with us, the renovation costs will be you'll save 0.25%. Like, because I get supplies at cost, manufacturing cost. And contractors that work for me directly. So we're in control of all of that. So floors for you, maybe $285, $290. I get it for $160. So when you're bidding on a house against me, who's gonna win? I'll pay another $5,000. You can't, your numbers won't make sense. So it's advantageous for investors to work with us because we have all these great deals. We have the contractors in place. We have the boots on the ground. Yeah, and we vertically integrate. Tom and his brother are doing things in Detroit. You know, that's probably another market we're going to be looking at. But for the time being, I'm focused on Ohio. And I've been obsessing over Ohio because I see it as what Hamilton used to be. And I see it changing so quickly. It's like, you know, he said 6 months, like it's changing rapidly. And Canadian investors, they're like, you're in bidding wars there, guys. It's crazy bidding wars. It's not like imagine 2 years ago here, it was like that here, there, right now. Like we just got one accepted through the courts. It took what, 3 weeks? It took 3 weeks for the bidding war. It's not one day there. It's a 3-week bidding war. it was pretty crazy story, but we could do things as flips. We could do burrs. We could do buy and holds. I really like the buy and hold strategy. You know, buy, renovate, burr out. You could always, almost all the time, get mostly or all of your money out, and then go do another one, and then go do another one. It's just a great strategy. I've done it here in Canada. I've done it in Hamilton. I've done it in Brantford. I've done it in St. Catharines. You can't do it here no more. You can't get all your money out. You may get 70, 60% of your money out, and you won't cash flow anymore. You can still cash flow over there. You get all your money out and you still cash flow, right? Tom Thompson. So that, like, and generational wealth is holding the properties, right? Taxation purposes, all these other purposes. So if you want to go to the other slide. So what we offer is we work with actually Miro's company, Russell Real Estate, and they've been in business for 60 years. They have top-notch investor-focused agents. They have off-market deals that just go to that brokerage because they work with off-market. Like we could get portfolios of 30 properties, 40 properties. Commercial as well. And they're working alongside us. They've teamed up with us, with Tom and I and the Manifest team. And they also have hard money lenders. They have lawyers, accountants, property managers. So they have all that stuff also. So it's not just I'm bringing everything from Canada. I can't. I'm bringing my contracting crew, but it's got to be managed out there. The hard money lenders, we have great hard money lenders. The one that we're doing, I'm getting 92% loan to value. It's unheard of here. So these are the things that we can offer. My construction company is called the Builder's Manor. So we do construction in Canada. We're going to be doing construction in the US. It's all in-house. We're in control of all the contractors. They're getting paid by milestone. They're not getting paid before they do any work. Show me your work, get paid. They're not getting paid by the hour. I don't do that game. It's per job and per the milestone. We're gonna have an office in Cleveland coming soon. And construction supplies, we created the Builder's Manor also in the US. And we have suppliers in the US for flooring, trim, doors, kitchens, everything. So forget about Home Depot. I'm your new Home Depot. Because Home Depot is a middleman. I'm sure everybody knows they're a middleman, but they're a convenient place. It's a convenience store, right? You could get everything there. What I've done is I've actually made it convenient for all the investors that I've found the individual places that have better rates and better prices, and we get better prices on everything. So we can bully people on offers and get properties, right? Imagine you're getting, instead of doing a 50K rental, it's going to cost you 25, 30. You could spend 10 more on the offer. So who's going to win? So there's a lot of benefit to it, right? If you want to go to the next slide. We're going to change it. It's not going to be January. We are planning a bus tour. I'd love for you guys to join us. All of us, we're planning a big bus tour. We're going to get a big limo. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be, we're going to look at all the zones from A to D. And don't worry, I'm not going to take you to a D zone that's scary. I'm going to take you to a D zone that's people are washing their car and saying, hey, how's it going? You're like, this is a D zone? I think that's what changed it for me, the bus tour. And that's what I think will change it for everyone. Once you feel it, see it, touch it, don't taste it, but everything else, going downtown, you'll see what's happening. You'll feel the vibe, you know what I mean? You could see how clean the city is. There's no homeless issues. Like we have homeless issues in Hamilton. It's crazy. There's tents everywhere. They don't have that there. They house them with the Section 8 program and all these other programs. And I'd love to have you guys join us on the bus so you can just scan the QR code and get on the list and we'll reach back out to you. Go ahead.
Now for the bird method that you wanted to do or that you like the strategy of buy and hold, like how long after can you refinance? Like 6 months, a year?
6
How
months.
soon?
6 months.
Yeah, 3 months. So if you if you have a lien on the property, you can do it within 3 months.
So if you have a private money lender, hard money lender, like you do a hard money lender on the front end, and you buy the property, you can do it within 3. If you do it with cash, you can do it within 6. I don't remember the reason why.
Yeah,
If
they
you
make
have a
it six.
lien-
The average was 6,
Yeah.
but if you have a hard money lender, it's 3. Sometimes I suggest hard money lenders, like private lenders, because you could turn it around quicker. At a 9% rate, look, 9% compared to 7% on a $100,000 property, it's not a big deal. It's like what, $50, $60? It's actually nothing. And that's why sometimes it's better to go with a private lender because you could cash out refinance much faster, right, Biro?
And that adds to the strategy because I have to be honest, when I first started, the first partner I had, we were doing PMLs, private money lenders or zone cash. But when we were starting to go into the BRRRR, we started to realize and grow and learn, we realized that, well, we can get our cash back in 3 months. I mean, think about this. You finish the renovation in about month and a half. You get the tenant in there in about, let's say, an additional month. That's 2 months. But before you get the tenant in there, you can have the appraiser go to the house while it's all nice. You know, like you have all this LVP, you can see everything. No one's in the house. There isn't a bedroom where everything's obstructed. They go in the house, the appraisal's ready. 3 months goes by, boom. You get your money back, you reinvest the next one, you wipe out your first lien position, and you just keep stacking.
Does the house have to be rented before you?
No, it can be completely vacant.
You had to furnish the project for Section 8?
So they basically have a certain standard of certain things that have to be done. Like the windows, the doors, the locks have to lock.
No beds, no couches.
So what you can do is you can get an extra bonus in terms of your rent if you put in, for example, a refrigerator, if you put in a stove, kind of these things. So they'll ask you, are you going to put in these things? If you do, you get a little bit of a boost. $20 here, $40 here per month.
So who maintains that inventory? Is it the landlord or the?
So I mean that's in the lease agreement that you can make between them. I mean that's out of kind
Yeah,
of
and the lease agreements, all of those agreements we have with Miro, we'll share all of that with you. When you work with us, we'll share all of our resources with you and our expertise. We even have people at the bank to set you up with bank accounts and anything you need in the U.S. side. It's funny, we call it e-transfer. They don't have e-transfer. They call it Zelle. It's so weird.
Or Cash App?
Yeah, Cash App. I also wanted to introduce Jeremy, our partner. Come up here, Jeremy. So he's our partner realtor here in Windsor. He's also going to be assisting us and working with us with the manifest stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
And,
So we're doing some stuff in Windsor as well.
Yeah.
We're talking about doing some of the contracting down here. So it's a great way to kind of give you an idea of my background. I've been investing for close to about 8 years in the Windsor area. A large portfolio. I manage close to 400 units right now. And then I have a 8-figure portfolio. So yeah, it's almost 8-figure portfolio. And myself, solo, just doing buy holds, flipping houses, somewhere between 12 up to 12 a year, but right now I've done about 6 this year alone. Slower, trying to find properties. We get a lot of, me and Tom, I probably sent him close to
A good amount of deals, like just
probably about close to 50 off-market deals ranging from single-family homes, potential flips, to apartment buildings in Windsor. We get a lot of things off-market. I have builders, different things we can do there.
Yeah.
So we were
like, I'm not saying Canada's bad to invest in. I love Canada. If you find a great deal, Windsor, anywhere,
Yeah.
you know, it's good to have the professionals that actually do it. I'm a try, tested, and true guy. I don't want to work with a guy that hasn't done it. You know, it just doesn't make sense because he's going to learn with my money. And it hurts. You know, that kind of learning hurts, right? So we've all done it. I've told you that we brought the Avengers because we all do it. We all are an expert in our field. You know, Jeremy here in Windsor, myself in Hamilton, Tom here, he's an investor that does Detroit, Cleveland. We all done it. Miro, they're in Cleveland. We all do this thing. So we've come together and said, let's join forces because it's harder to do it alone. It's, you know, if you're poking someone, it doesn't hurt, but if you punch someone, it might hurt, right? So that's what we're looking to do. If you want to go to the next slide. So there's 3 ways that you could work with us. Silent JVs, active JVs, some money lending. Silent JVs, some money partner, right? You're a money partner, we're the active side. Active JV, we ash out the roles and responsibilities. So I don't want you to call me like, hold on, I don't like any of those colors. The contractors are going to start tomorrow. This has happened to me. Contractor's going to start tomorrow. I don't like any of those colors. Bring them all back. Now we have to fall behind because the contractor has to go somewhere else. And like those kind of things you got to ash out before in an agreement. But like there's active JVing and there's also money lending. If you like to lend, we could also figure out a way to work together. There's three ways of doing it. Right now we're going 50-50 on active and passive JVs. Active, it's up to you what you want to do. But if I was active, I wouldn't want to take on more than I need to. It's in Cleveland, right? So it's a little bit of a distance. But lots of people want to learn. Go ahead.
But, yeah, but the silence, like the money partner, you can have the advantage of getting private money, whatever rate there is, like what do you guys need?
So silent partner, you're still a partner on the title. You're still a partner on the LLC. You'll still have your corporate structure set up whatever way you want to do it. Silent partnership is going to be mostly you're in charge of the money side, right? And we're going to be in charge of being responsible to give you all the information, everything that's happening from A to Z.
So you want the down payment money?
But so you want
Sorry?
You want the down payment money from the silent JV?
Yes. Because the rental money comes from the lender.
Yeah.
So the down payment money, pretty much. So you put in your money, we put in our work. So we work for our money. You've worked for your money already, but we're going to work to prove that we're going to accomplish that goal. Yeah. So that's the way it's been working for me so far in Hamilton. I've done a lot of them, and I have a lot of lenders that are lending to us in Cleveland now.
That's why I was confused. What kind of money were you referring to? The down payment is what you're referring to?
Yes, down payment. Yes, down payment. So I'd find a deal. Say you sign a letter of intent. We have a letter of intent that we go through. You sign a letter of intent. We're going to work together. Then we hash out the agreement, a JV agreement or whatever agreement we have, and then we make our corporate structures and all that stuff. In the meantime, we're going to look for properties. We're going to start vetting properties. And based on what you're comfortable with doing and what I'm comfortable with doing, we're going to find the right properties. We're going to run the ARVs. We're going to run the numbers, how much it's going to be to renovate it, worst case, best case, exit strategies. All of that's going to be panned out, sent to you. We're going to have a conversation. What do you guys think? Want to move forward? Don't want to move forward? Any reservations? All of that stuff. If you say, yes, we want to move forward, then next step. And it's not just me or the guys that you see here. We have a huge team. It's a manifest team. You guys could join, add me on Instagram. You can see I have a massive team in Hamilton and Toronto.
What's the average deposit you're looking for?
So the average is at
least
least based on the purchase. So the average house is about 100,000. So if we're 25% down, it's about 25,000.
Yeah, I'm seeing often 20,000.
25,000 USD.
It can be more, 30, 40, 50.
Yeah, depending on the house. I like to start small because USD. So it's not that big of a.
Are they holding the mortgage too after the refinance as well?
Yes, yeah. If we're keeping it.
The corporation does it?
Yeah, the corporation. So we're gonna have to create a corporation, LLC, right? But shareholders. And if we do it properly, we burr out all of our money, and we can go do another one, and do another one, and do another one, and every entity is going to be its own LLC.
And you said roughly it's 3 months turnaround?
Roughly. Well, it depends on the renovation. That's the most important part. But with Eden, for example, which I prefer Eden because it's just quicker, faster to actually pick up the phone, which with Section 8, it's a lot of gray hairs. But Eden for me is just faster. And for me, speed wins, because if I can get a tenant in there faster, thank you. If I can get a tenant in there faster, less chance someone goes in and jacks the copper. Someone takes the furnace, the hot water tank. I mean, if there is a will, there is a way. And I'm telling you, they will find a way to take your furnace through a window. it's just miraculous how they sometimes get in there. So every day that it's not with someone in there, I'm just anxious all the time. I just am. So Eden every single day and get them faster. It's like 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe faster. I just prefer Eden. Just personal preference.
But from the time you start reno, like deposit
3 months.
to
3 months.
refinance,
3 months.
3 months.
Because
Yeah.
and
3 months.
about the time you're finished and getting them in, it's around the time you're collecting the DSCR. Just all. It's
So the
perfect
beauty is, like, permitting is a joke.
Yeah.
It's 1 day. If I wanted to get a permit, it's a 1-day job. That's how long it takes to get a permit. Now imagine you got a 1-day permit here.
It's never happened.
Yeah. Like, and most of these renos, guys, are cosmetic. I don't even need a permit. Like, unless I'm knocking down a structural wall where I got to get drawings done and all that stuff. But even that, it's a 1 day. I get the drawings done, I go there and I stamp the permit, bang, done. It's kind of ridiculous that we have to go through so much. But it is what it is. And I see the opportunity there. And next year, we're going to do 100 doors. I'm telling you right now, we're going to do 100 doors. We've had so much interest in this, like, since we started the program, because I already do it. I'm already doing it. I told you guys about my guinea pig. My guinea pig is going to be the sweetest guinea pig on the block, because it's going to be the highest end house, and everybody's going to be like, holy moly, this area done changed. Because it just takes one person to change an area. One person. And I've seen it happen in my city. I was talking to you guys before, where they friends have bought a block and they just changed the block. And
We had that here in with Wyandotte, with basically let's see, about Lincoln to Devonshire. If we go back maybe, 10, 15 years ago, that was not the greatest area. Now we have all the best restaurants for the most part. Oh, and that's our new downtown core, which is now the Lincoln area, I would say, right to Devonshire.
when you bring up the renos, as you guys know that have done renos, you're going to attract a higher class tenant, right? That higher class tenant is going to love the renos. They're going to appreciate the rent. They're willing to pay for those renos, right? So the ARV is automatically going to jump up, right? So that's what we're planning to do. To do cash out refinances on these houses is simple. We're going to get some profit out of it too. You know, it's very simple. Like we used to do it in Hamilton. Can't do it as much anymore to get all your money out and cash flow at the end. No way. You could get your money out and cash flow. It's like a win-win. It's like a no-brainer. Like everything that I've seen on the US side, it just makes me crazy, because I'm like, if I did what I was doing here, over there, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing stopping you on that side. On this side, okay, the mortgage company changed, the rules changed, a stress test. Like, listen, I love Canada. I don't want to get it wrong. I love investing in Canada, and there's still great opportunities if you get good deals.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
You have to jump when they come.
Yeah, yeah.
The issue is there's tons of potential more
Yeah.
elsewhere, where you
Yeah.
don't have to wait and twiddle your thumbs.
Yeah.
I'm putting in offers almost daily just to try to get something. I can throw in 50 offers a month and I might get 2 properties.
Yeah.
Right? Where if we go to
I put 2 offers in, I got 1 house. The crazy part is they got so excited they didn't even sign the paperwork. They sent it to the title company. I didn't even know my closing date. I'm like, Miro.
He's still griping about this.
I'm like, Miro, what kind of agent doesn't tell me their closing date? Like, I need to know when I'm closing. Like, I know it's no money, like it's nothing, right? But the title company's, oh yeah, by the way, you're closing December 9th. Oh, okay, thank you. Called Miro. I'm like, Miro. But it's a lot more streamlined, and the title companies, I like the way they work. Actually, I really like it. They give you a portal. It's not like going through lawyers. It's so streamlined. They tell you where it's at in the process, and like a lawyer here, just like, oh, I'll take care of everything, and then come sign a million paperwork here. It's not like that in the U.S.
We didn't hit on what the title company really represents, because you have lawyers and then you have title companies. So I didn't understand that Canada had something different, but title companies are like an octopus. They make sure the listing agent, the buying agent,
They take care of
mortgage
everything.
person, everything, all the money is going in the right pockets. Title is clear, everything's fine with the city, point of sale, things to be in escrow. They just take care of everything in regards to closing. It's clear, there's no liens. So they're a huge asset to have. Make sure you have the right one, because there could be ones that are just disasters, and there are ones that are phenomenal. So just make sure you Google review the title companies.
Yeah. No, it's a lot easier.
So Ernest, how long is the time frame to get the money from the lender? 3 months?
Yeah.
So the DSCR cash out refi, like
No,
three
for the refi.
Or the initial,
investor.
initial like setup for the house, like money lenders, down payments.
Oh, corporate structure and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll share with everybody here the lawyers that I use for my corporate structure. It's a free consultation. Take that free consultation. Even if you don't use them, you get the free consult. You get the free consult. It's an hour consult. I love them because they gave me a portal and they keep training you and teaching you every week. And if I have a question, I go on there and I ask and they answer. It's hard to get a lawyer on the call, but I could get a lawyer right there.
Mine took about 3 months. Yeah. To get
Yeah.
the ITN or whatever. That
Yeah.
was the hardest part of it. Was a waiting period.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have like a lawyer and you're doing an agreement, say I'm doing a partnership agreement with someone here, I could put that partnership agreement, upload it, they'll review it and tell me what the mistakes are, and they'll send it back to me. You can't go wrong. For $75 a month I'm paying, it's a joke, right? So like all of the hard things, like all the stuff that you're thinking about corporate structure and all this, there's professionals you pay to explain that to you. Don't overthink it. You know, if you start overthinking it like I did, I'm like, oh my God, it just stalls you. And
But if we're JV and you're taking care of it.
So that's a great call. I can actually probably answer this really well because I do a lot of this stuff with my clientele. So as you can see with this chart right here, right? You have a silent and active. You never want to have two silents. You never want to have two actives. Because if, for example, you have two active partners, there's going to be disagreements. One of my first partners, and one of the reasons why I don't partner with too many people, myself, is the fact of, like you were saying, choosing a flooring, this and that. So, for example, in the case of a silent partner, you are pretty much just providing the money, and you're getting what's called mailbox money. I do this quite a bit.
But you're going to set up all the entities.
well, if you're a silent partner, I will help you set up everything.
Yeah.
But if you want to be active, that's going to be your active role. One of your active roles is to set up your corporate structures.
What you were wanting to get to was how long is it going to take? 3 months.
Well,
From start to finish.
from start to finish,
So you get, sorry. to
Yeah,
cut you
go
off.
ahead.
So let's say you get an okay, ready to go, I need $25,000.
The lender.
so we can set up a structure on this side where we JV and we have a corporation that's protected until your structure's set up. Yeah, so you don't have to hold back until you get a corporate structure set up. As long as one person has a corporate structure set up, you're protected.
So being the silent one, you've already going to have that done.
I have that set up. But I will always tell
So
you,
you don't have to set one up.
you don't have to set one up, but I would always advise you to set one up, because if you want to do more than one or two, you should have it.
I will want to have one too.
Yeah, I want to have as many as I could have, because I want to quit working. Like, who wants to work? I'm a realtor. You're a realtor. Like, we don't stop working. I'm in the shower taking calls. Like, it's a deal. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how it is, right? So, but if you have this passive income coming, it's just, and remember,
Multiplies.
yeah, $1,000 US is 1,400 Canadian. So, if you got 5 properties paying you $1,000, that's $6,000-7,000 Canadian. And 5 properties, to get 5 properties is $100,000 each. It's kind of like nothing.
And when you own the houses, you start praying for inflation every day. Love inflation. Love inflation.
Inflation is going to come, but get the cash flow. Inflation is going to come because I see it. I'm telling you, if you guys come to the Cleveland tour, you will see it. And you know what happened to Hamilton? Torontonians happened. Torontonians came and they're like, we like Hamilton. I'm like, why? Yeah.
They live
Yeah.
in Cleveland too?
Yeah, like Torontonians came, we want to live in the slums. I'm like, why? I didn't understand it. But they came and they changed the slums. They weren't slums after. So they seen that happen to Toronto and they were too late for that bus. So they came to Hamilton. And that's probably what happened to Windsor and happened to all these other cities.
I was born in Walkerville, and to be honest with you, like my mom still that stigmatization that Walkerville is rough and gross. And to be honest with you, some of it still probably is, but for the most part, when we think Walkerville, it's one of the trendiest areas in Windsor right now. And that's kind of the move over. South Windsor used to be the premier area. That's been surpassed by Tecumseh and LaSalle now. So every 30 years, it shifts. I mean, I'm in some Windsor Facebook groups on, like, for example, South Windsor. And I have some of these old folks that have been there since day one. They're like, South Windsor's not the same as it was back in the 1960s and 70s. Well, the neighborhoods have shifted. So.
And things change. And you know what? It takes the out-of-towners to shift it. It always out-of-towners. Based on my experience, it's always been out-of-towners. I was taught a lot by out-of-towners. They were like, I had a woman investor. She taught me so much. She kicked me in the ass every day. She had high heels too. It hurt. I'm telling you, she kicked me in the ass, like Hamilton this, Hamilton that. And she invested in places that people would never invest in Hamilton. But 4 or 5 years later, when she sold all of her portfolio, multi-millionaire, walked away, now she's doing buildings. And the time that she was investing in Hamilton, people were like, you're crazy. So I want to be that crazy guy in Cleveland right now. So that I want to be like, when he's like, oh yeah, I see it. But most of the realtors are like, we don't see it. So let's get ahead of
the people in Cleveland, they have no idea what's happening. They have no idea that they're
going to get priced out. They're going to get priced out of Cleveland. Just like Hamiltonians got priced out, the tenants. Yeah.
Our price doubled in 5 years.
And they're gonna be the ones that are complaining, oh my God, like, the prices are so high, this and that, because they got priced out from out-of-towners.
But people in Cleveland just have no idea what's happening.
So Canadians are
Cleveland about the real estate market. They just have no idea that the gold mine is a printing press.
Canadians invaded Cleveland. You're in bidding wars with Canadians. They're not out of town. Like, they're not US people. They're all Canadians. So if you want to go to the next slide, please. So you can scan this, book a call with us. Love to work with you guys. I'm doing this, 100%. We're doing this. We're going to get 100 doors, no problem. No problem. This is going to be easy peasy. Everybody's got $25,000.
No, it's 40.
Whatever. 40.
We got exchange.
40. Hey, you'll make it back when you get the rent. You'll make it back.
You should have did that 3 weeks ago. I just did a private mortgage for 60.
Oh man, I would have bought. You would have bought my house. 65. 65. Like that's another option. That's another.
When the offer's accepted, they're going to buy it within a week, and then it's going to be 3 months to get the money back.
Yeah.
Rough money back.
Yeah, but like if you're a money lender, you're getting your payment every month, interest only, right?
But
So
if you're JVing.
if you're JVing, yeah, it takes a little bit of time.
It
But
all depends on the rental, right? It depends on the extent of the lift.
yeah, and like for me, like it's crazy for someone not to invest. Like even if you have a line of credit, a 6%, 6%, 6.5. Right now it's about 6. If it's a HELOC, it's about 6.5. Why not put that money to work? You're not getting anything out of it sitting there, right?
What if you want to be the private lender in the JV?
You could be anything you like to be.
Let's go.
Let's like to me, it's about what do you like to do? I've been part of a lot of programs, Wealth Genius. I've been part of a couple other programs, and everybody does it like differently. The way I'm doing it is like blue collar. I'm a blue collar guy. I've done flooring, I've done trim, I've done everything. You know what I mean? I've done all these rentals before, and I only want to partner per property, one partner. I don't want to have multiple chefs in the kitchen, as you were stating before.
And what I was trying to talk about earlier with he kind of just said, what if you want to do both? We have, and I've seen a lot of people that do both right now. For example, I have my own silent partner. She was a former investor back in the day, got burned. She does not want to even answer a phone call. She gives me the money, doesn't ask questions, doesn't see the property, doesn't care about the property. If you're working with people that you trust, the money pretty much just comes in. I do all my renovations. I borrow what I need to borrow, and that's it. The only conversation I have is, here's where we're at right now, here's where we're going, and then 3 to 6 months later, she gets paid back, and guess what? I'm buying another property, and she's got even more money. I'm paying her every month. Every day on the
I got 3 or 4
20th.
guys the same thing, but they want proof of concept.
So,
You can do that.
It comes down to trying it out. Like, I have a big team. I have an operations manager for my construction company. You're gonna get weekly reports. You're gonna be in contact with people that are boots on the ground. It's not just me. I'm just the face of it. Like, you're gonna have a whole team working on stuff for you. And they're gonna take care of everything that you need taken care of. If you need something taken care of in Cleveland, it's just a phone call away from me. Yeah, either him or I have other boots on the ground. I have contractors on the ground, right? So these are the things that I'm offering. Like, I think it's a great value-added proposition for someone that wants to do it, right? If they want to do it, great. If not, at least you got the information. But if you want to get in contact with my lawyers, I'm gonna share all that information with you. It's a free consult. You can't go wrong.